Hello, and welcome to episode 144 of Flix and the Six. That was the weirdest hello I think I've done in 144 episodes. They're usually pretty consistent. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me forever and always, the man, the myth, the prohibition yeast, Alessandro Violsi. Say hello, Al.
Henceforth, artichoke hearts will be referred to as heartichokes.
Ah, brilliant.
Thank you.
On this week's episode, a handful of Star Wars treats and other news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week, the Untouchables. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
You know, I appreciate how many different varieties of yeast I have been called on this show.
Yeah.
There's been wild yeast, there's been prohibition yeast, there's been at least 3 or 4 other yeasts. This
edition of my nicknames for you is what I'm calling the yeast strain. It's a series of episodes from 135. I actually don't know when it started.
I don't know. It's been several though. We're drinking Boulevard Bourbon Barrel Quad. It's a barrel-aged ale. It's bottle conditioned. It has stats somewhere on this box that I can no longer find. Nope, on the bottle though. It's, I think,
11.2% alcohol by volume, 26 IBUs.
Yes. I have things to read about this beer. I appreciate when we have reading about the beer, and so I'm going to do it. Wrong one. First, this one. This Abbey-style quadruple is a dark, strong ale separated into oak bourbon barrels to age for various lengths of time, some for up to 3 years. Cherries are added to make up for the, quote, angel share of beer lost during barrel aging. Selected barrels are blended for optimum flavor, warm and toasty with aromas of bourbon, oak, and vanilla. Bourbon Barrel Quad also retains a hint of tart cherry with caramel notes.
Oh man, all of that sounds so delightful.
Right? Well, you were punched in the face with the smell of this beer when you opened it.
I was instantly hungover. That's what happened.
That's a barrel-aged quad. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
is it ever?
Before we taste this, I've got a couple of questions.
What is it about? First I have a question.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be one of the same questions. What is it about barrel-aged quads with cherries? Because isn't that what Three Philosophers is?
I think so. It must be something about like the either the tartness and sweetness of a cherry must like cut something. Mm-hmm. I would guess.
That's one that you're a big fan of, isn't it?
I would say yes.
I know you brought it to the house. Was it for the Mayweather Pacquiao fight?
Oh, I don't remember. All I know is that I had a night with it once, so I don't know that I've actually recovered.
We've all had
Thanks,
those
Jesse.
nights. I had that night with Victory Golden Monkey.
Nights. I think we've all had that night with Victory Golden Monkey.
Came as advertised from the guy at the Beer Star when I bought it for the first time.
Nice.
I slept in a chair.
So. Question. First off, this is the furthest out that I've ever seen a date on a beer.
Oh, where was the date? What's on the bottle?
3rd of February, 2022.
Oh. Well, with this alcohol content, you probably throw that date out the window and leave it as long as you want.
Yeah, please enjoy by whatever, is what it should say.
It's like aging a wine. It's basically the same strength.
Now, I need you to take the bottle again and turn it sideways and look at underneath the government warning, there is the information about the deposits. And then underneath that, I'm pretty sure I'm being told that in Puerto Rico, I should not be littering. Now, that could just be the orientation of... Is that what you're getting out of that message?
Yeah, because all of it on the top line are states: Connecticut, Hawaii, Iowa, Maine, Massachusetts, New York, Vermont, 5 cents deposit, Michigan, Oregon, 10-cent deposit. Then next line in red, not white like the last letters, California, cash return. That's what the CRV stands for.
Okay.
Cash return value.
What's the V?
A value, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know I'm pretty sure the deposit in California is like $1.
Oh, okay.
And then next to that, back in white again, Puerto Rico - do not litter. I'm assuming that they don't have the same recycling rules and laws in Puerto Rico, and so you're just being encouraged, if you are having this beer in Puerto Rico, to not litter the glass.
Okay. All right. I'm not crazy then. So you definitely read it the same way as I did.
Yes.
Here, throw it out your window. No big deal.
That is
Puerto
the first...
Rico.
Well, you are encouraged, incentivized to recycle it with the money that the state is holding hostage from you. But if you wish to litter, it's not telling you not to.
Mm. Mm.
Now, I wonder, is it punishable by law if you're in Puerto Rico and you litter a bottle that tells you not to litter?
Mm.
Is that the only time it's punishable by law? No, you were warned in writing.
Interesting. Does it have to say on the bottle?
You were warned in writing.
All right. They were like, let's not, in Puerto Rico, let's not leave anything up to chance.
Right?
All right. I'm so curious. So, cheers. Ooh, that resonated nicely.
Much better than mine. Oh, yeah. That is silky smooth. This is a super dangerous beer because it's got a little bit of the alcohol warming, but not nearly enough for how the percentage it is.
Oh. That just tastes like, it tastes like a really tasty glass of bourbon that the ice cube has completely melted in.
Yes, but also... no, actually not even that because...
Maybe like a cocktail, because there's a sweetness too.
Yeah, because it doesn't water down, and some bourbon almost gets sour when it
that's true.
When it gets watered down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a weird one.
It's so good in the most dangerous way. I feel like this would be a problem. This would be as much of a problem as Golden Monkey.
Yeah, I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could never do more than one of these.
It's not that rich or heavy that I would
I feel like it's rich.
It's rich in flavor, but like it doesn't feel like it's like weighting my palate.
Al, I feel like I'm drinking a decadent cake.
Yeah, but you know when you eat a decadent...
I'm not mad about it.
When you eat a decadent cake, you immediately feel it just like take up residence in your stomach.
Sure.
I don't get that with this.
You don't get that? I kind of get that. Maybe it's just like the overabundance of sweetness.
There is a lot of residual sweetness, but that's pretty common for something with this amount of alcohol content.
It's pretty common for gnawing on a handful of cherries.
No, for anything that's 11%, like that's especially it's going to be like a triple, quadruple, whatever. That's not going to have hops to balance the sweetness.
Right.
You're going to get like that. If it's going to be this malt forward, it's going to be the runaway sweetness effect.
I do feel like there's a flavor, there's something in that sweetness that resembles like one of your early beers. Is that something that was like maybe less hoppy then?
Well, you have to understand that, I mean, maybe, but with
Was it the wild yeast?
Well, it is bottle conditioned, so there's that similarity with my beer. So you're going to get some of that yeasty aftertaste, which I know you're going to call me next week. Which I know you're going to call me next week.
No. Oh God, no! Not even you deserve that. No! I can't enjoy this now.
This is actually going to be, in some ways, I mean, this is like a much bolder and richer in flavor than I did, but I didn't age mine in barrels for fucking 8 years. The one you haven't tried the newest Al's Ale yet, right? You still have it?
No, I've got 2 in my shelf.
We didn't do it for the show yet, did we?
No, I don't know what they are though.
It's a Belgian Golden Strong Ale, so it's a cousin to this beer.
But there's 2. What's the other one? Mystery beer!
Did I not just give you 2 of that beer?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. They looked like they were different colors before, but who can really say?
I could have swore I gave you a couple of bottles, and we were supposed to have Kim on for an episode, and she was supposed to get...
Oh, that's probably right. It's probably the same. Yeah.
But that one, and basically all Belgians, double, triple, quadruple, you're going to put Belgian candy sugar in it to beef up both both the sweetness and the alcohol content.
Belgian candy sugar is something I could call you. That's
yeah, okay. I can do that.
I have sweetness. Oh man, this is really good. My face is very warm though.
I do feel a little bit of that going on.
Yeah, I mean, I also probably was drinking it too fast because I was really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this dangerously as well. I have another one in the fridge. This is a dangerous.
Yeah. What where are you going with Thuckles on this guy?
Oh, this is at least 3, if not 4 Thuckles.
Oh, okay, interesting. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go 3 Thuckles because of it's unique. Normally, like this style, I'm not like super into this like type of thing. I would probably give it a thumb, but this is particularly good for this type of thing that I'm not super into. So I feel like I'm going to go 3 Thuckles on it. If it were 4 Thuckles, you would lose one because specifically, if you were drinking this while working with power tools, a thuckle is what you would have left.
Or you'd lose at least one thuckle.
Exactly. Minimum one thuckle.
Well, and that's why, just like you aren't allowed to litter in Puerto Rico, it also tells you not to operate heavy machinery while drinking this beer.
Yeah, may cause loss of thuckle.
Oh my god. When I win the lotto and we open Al's Ales, that is going to be part of our disclaimer.
Yeah, there's you'll do your quad, your quint. How about that? You do 5. You can 5 it up.
The first ever quint?
It'd be the quint, and then
I have never heard of a quintuple.
And we'll call it the thuckle buster. Yes,
the thuckle grinder.
The thuckle grinder. Oh man, this is a treat. Thank you for this one.
I have a little bit more on this beer. From Boulevard Brewing. This is part of the Smokestack series.
Ooh.
Rising high above our historic brewery, the old brick smokestack has stood silent but faithful watch through decades of rapid and often extraordinary change. The addition of a new brewhouse in 2006 enabled us to fulfill our long-held dream of crafting an evolving line of bold new beers that offer innovative modern riffs on traditional style. It seemed only fitting to call it the Smokestack series.
Nice. This is great.
We've done a couple of Boulevards on the show. This is probably like our third, I want to say.
Sure.
They've all been good. I'm gonna say this is probably the best, or at least my favorite of them. I'm gonna say
I can't say that I remember the other one, so this is the best.
And Anthony is already wasted. This is gonna be
sad. This is like remember when we were gonna do 3 episodes at once? This is like 3rd episode style.
Remember
that's what this is gonna
3
end
episodes
up.
at once in the 3rd episode? We're both clearly drunk and you're clearly borderline blackout drunk.
It's the 3rd episode. Star Wars.
Star Wars and stuff. We were full of beer and pizza.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do you want to get into some news and nuggets?
Yes.
All right. So we have a handful of Star Wars things that have happened to us this week.
Yes.
It's a weird way to phrase that.
Star Wars things that have happened to us this week.
Star Wars happened to us this week. So I want to actually start off with, weirdly, I would like to start off with Star Wars Squadrons.
You know, it finally felt like this is the trailer that hooked me.
I've been interested specifically in, honestly, I didn't even need a trailer. You could have told me generally what it was, and it'd be like a Rogue Squadron? A Rogue Squadron-esque game.
Did you become Gilda Radner? Like, not Gilda Radner, Madeline Kahn.
It's true.
It's true.
But I'm all for it. I've been wanting to play that style Star Wars game for a while. Now,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to impugn your honor and your interest in a Star Wars. When it first came out, was announced, you were like, "Oh yeah, cool," and but it felt like you never got past that point. With this trailer, it felt like you're finally like, "Okay, I'm in."
Well, here's what's funny about it is I only got halfway through the trailer because it's 10 minutes and I was really busy.
It was nearly 10 minutes.
And I didn't get back to it, but I actually wanted to ask you about where it ends up because the way that it starts off, I was like, why?
Just for anyone who hasn't seen this trailer, because there have been several that have come out.
Sure, but it's the
latest
one.
I know I sent you the gameplay trailer, and the gameplay looks badass. And which is what awesome. I'm, at this stage of my life, story trailers, like cinematics, cool, fun, great.
Show me what I'm playing.
If you send me too many of those, I get a little worried because you're not showing me the gameplay, and I want to know what it looks like to see if I'm going to be interested in playing that. Like, I might be super interested in your story or your whole vibe, but if I don't enjoy the actual hands-on, even if the gameplay isn't the best part of it, if I'm not interested in doing that, I'm going to be so turned off, I'll never get it.
Oh, for sure. That totally makes sense. So I've got a couple questions. First off, I didn't see the whole trailer, but just based on the beginning, it almost seemed like we were making the Empire out to be the good guys. Just the way that it was playing out, which is an interesting
trailer, take. That is the case. I don't know for sure. I meant to look in. Thankfully, I didn't have a long day today, but it was just a very frenetic day today, and I didn't have a chance to look up and see if there was a matching one. So the gist of this game is that you will, at some point throughout the course of the game, be playing as part of both a New Republic squadron and a Fallen Empire squadron.
Which is a pretty cool perspective thing, and they did that in, what was it, Battlefront 2? What was the one where you played, they had that campaign? Was that Battlefront 2? Where you played as, like, the Empire?
Yes.
That was
the one
awesome.
that you were playing the one time when I came over.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah,
I dig that.
Well, that was different because you were playing as that one group that started out in the Empire, then realized that they no longer associated with the Empire's goals.
Yeah, which is
sides.
What's interesting about it is, like, I feel like that's a cool concept because eventually they're going to become part of the good side. But like the idea of playing, the thing that was rubbing me the wrong way was the idea of playing like as the Empire and pretending that it's okay. Like, it's like there's so many years of the Empire is bad. Like, it's not a question. So it's like I feel like you're not gonna really be able to get that much of a perspective story.
Well, the whole point of this whole thing, right, is it's similar to what we went through in the mid to late aughts into the early teens, right, of anti-heroes, dominated television, and all of that, where bad guy, sympathetic character. Mm-hmm. And that's what the Battlefront 2 storyline did, right, is Empire unequivocally bad, but to the average person within it, even though they may be vigorously expediting their goals, you can relate to the fact that everyone wants to be the hero of their own story. And they weren't converts to a cause. Like, it's different than the First Order, where it's like, no, the Empire ended up being bad. You were converted to this movement, as opposed to being born and grown up into the Empire. You think you're the good guy. You're definitively not. And we see that with someone like Finn in the First Order. We see that with the characters. Was it Iden, or wasn't that her name? Was it Iden Versio or something like that? And their squadron, what they were called in that. In Battlefront 2, where it's your entire life has been in the middle of Empire space.
Sure.
There is no reason for you to ever believe, and with propaganda and all that, it's a fascist state. You think your cause is just. And it's only getting on the front lines and seeing how many people you're killing wantonly that you finally realize, oh, fuck, we're the bad guys.
Right.
And that's...
I would say, so yeah, I was definitely... that makes sense. I was getting to the point of watching it and going, I don't feel bad for this guy as he's getting, like, he's headed towards the Star Destroyer. He's like trying to get out of there. I was like, I hope they leave your ass behind. And then it burns away and he's left behind. And I was like, damn, that's cold. And then I started rooting for him to get out of it.
Which is exactly what happens, right? You're predetermined, if you've a Star Wars fan of any age, post like 8 years old, you know unequivocally that or at least you should know that the Empire is the bad guys, right? And so anytime, like, especially an officer, right? Like, not just some, and you're not going to sympathize with like random faceless stormtroopers. You're not supposed to. That's why you don't see their faces. Like, just a grunt, like, henchman holding wrench on the Death Star. Like, you'll feel bad for that person because, like,
the independent contractors.
Yeah, the independent contractors, exactly. Because they're not actively, like, yes, they're working on this machine of death, this star of death, but they're not actively, like, mowing down civilians. So, like, they're just some random engineer. Like, it's the guy who, like, it's a mechanic who fixes the buses of, like school children. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's different when you see an Imperial officer. You just automatically know, hate, bad
guy.
Bad guy.
Just because you are a bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. And so you watch the beginning of that trailer. It's a clever trailer, right? Because you watch the beginning of that trailer, and it's like, okay, they're fighting, like, New Republic, or soon to be associated with New Republic, Rebellion, whatever, fighters, and so you're naturally rooting against this fucker, and then you hear one of his, like, squadron, oh god, help, and it's like, like,
yeah.
Yeah. And then she gets blown up, and it's like, oh. And then,
you made it real.
Yeah, now it's real. Like, I listened to her screaming as she was about to die.
I listened to her screaming and then not.
And then you're like, I hope this guy gets left behind. It's like, oh, fuck, he got left behind.
Yeah.
By the way,
man,
that is an incredibly Imperial thing to do. They really don't care. Like, it's different if, like, they took care of their own, and, like, that's a big differentiation point where it's like, sure, like, you got a Cassian Andor who's going to execute someone he knows because it's for the good of the mission, but, like, the Star Destroyer probably could have waited 5 more seconds.
Sure.
And they don't care. Like, people are just cogs in the machine. It's like, okay, you know what? I don't like this guy, bad dude, but even your own dude should be taking care of you a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then you grow to have a relationship with this character after, 5 minutes of a trailer?
Yep.
That was too long, probably, but still.
Sure.
Cool.
It was definitely too long. It was definitely something that I would have preferred to see in the game. I will say the couple of things visually that were amazing. One is the spark on the ship, which caught the eye of the pilot of the X-Wing. I thought that was really cool. That was really awesome. The thing that really blew me away is the entry through the atmosphere. The burning up was awesome. It looks so good. And I was just like, I want to play this.
Also, let's talk about, the sequence, right? Because now this is a cinematic. I don't even think this is a game engine. If you didn't stick to the end of the trailer. No. They do give you not gameplay, but game engine footage.
Okay.
Isn't as polished, but still looks really good.
Sure.
And so they go through that whole thing, right? Where the burn through the atmosphere, re-entry, really cool. Then pops into it's like, oh wow, this is like a verdant planet, looks cool, like clouds, green, grass and all that sort of stuff. And then the shot as he looks back up and realizes he's still being chased, and you seeing big hunks of destroyed ship hurtling down through re-entry as well.
That was
cool. A really cool scene. Did you get to that part?
No, I will definitely have to go back.
It was only
and watch
probably 10 seconds after the re-entry thing, or 30 seconds late. It was, and then they do this whole thing where it's the two of them dogfight through canyons and stuff like that.
That's cool. I dig that.
It ends up being really cool. Actually, the weird thing about this trailer was, so I think it was 9 minutes and 45 seconds or something like that total, and the last 30 seconds of most of those YouTube things end up being ad space. So let's call it about a 9-minute trailer. The first 7 minutes of the trailer is that story.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a little bit of the two characters, the Imperial and the Rebellion pilots. But then it gives you 90 seconds to 2 minutes of actual trailer to game. And like I said, it was game engine. It's not gameplay, but it's cinematic game engine stuff. Mm-hmm. Still looks really cool, really well done, well executed. And you get more snippets of both sides in this case. And the whole fact that it's I think Titan Squadron is the Imperial one, and I forget the name of the Rebellion one. Each one has a name of the specific squadron that you're going to be in.
Okay.
I think you get to play as 4 or 5 different types of ship. I don't know if it is that you play as each of the pilots on it. I want to say it's 5, because I think the squadrons are 5 people. It's the interceptor type thing, so it's A-Wing versus the TIE Interceptor. There's the multi, or the versatile, I forget what they actually call it, the X-Wing / TIE Fighter one. There's the Bomber class, which is the Y-Wing versus the TIE Bomber. Mm-hmm. Then there's the support one, and it's that U-Wing. Do you remember that from Rogue One? It was the one that it could swing its wings open to look kind of like a fighter jet, and it pulled it forward. It has the long ones. It was the ones that dropped off the guys on Edu at the end of the movie.
I know what you're talking about.
And there's an equivalent one of the Imperial one. I think there might have been one other class of ship as well. I forget.
That's pretty cool. I'm definitely interested in playing it. It sounds like a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm looking for a Star Wars fighting game, fighter game. Question for you is what's the time frame? Where is this game taking place?
To my understanding, it's supposed to be, actually, I think, similar time frame to The Mandalorian, several years after the fall of the Empire, but not because episode 7 picks up 30 years later, right?
Okay.
It's not. I think it's closer to 6 than it is to 7.
Interesting. I wonder if there'll be something cool like
a tie-in,
character tie-in. That'd be awesome.
It would
I'd be super on board with that.
It only as you were asking the question, I was really thinking about it that I clicked for me. I was yeah, I think it's supposed to be 5-ish years after. So I think contemporary with, even if it's not going to overlap.
All right, that's pretty cool. So then that raises just one weird question that I couldn't figure it out. I also didn't rewind it. But it looked like that Star Destroyer was headed towards or almost pushing what looked like a Trade Federation ship. And I did not understand what I was looking at. It was that circular shaped...
No, you know what that was? It was the ring from Rogue One that created the shield generator around the planet.
Ah.
That's what it opened up with, was the mission was failed, that Star Destroyer was in support of that thing, and the rebellion broke the ring, which shattered the shield around the planet.
Rebel scum.
And so they were fleeing the battlefield, and you see like the Hulk, like he's hiding in the broken Hulk of that ring gate.
Got it. That makes sense. Cool. I am. When does this come out? Do you know what the date is on this?
Yeah, along with the trailer, I think it said October 2nd.
Sweet.
Which is super close. I thought it was like a couple of months away. I'm a little confused because I thought this was dropping with the new generation, but I guess it's not. No. Because the new Xbox and PlayStation aren't coming out until sometime in November, right?
No, but I don't know. There could be. I don't know if there'll be like a up-res or anything like that, or if there's going to be some enhanced versions or not. But.
Well, I'm going to have to look it up because I have to imagine they're developing it for those as well, right?
I don't know.
Why would you drop such a big deal? Like, they're making a big deal about this. Like, a Star Wars game is always going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I will say that being said, the end of generation games look really good.
They do. No, but my point is, like, EA Motive, that studio was created for this game. A lot of the people from when they shuttered BioWare Montreal and redistributed them amongst the new office that they just built in Edmonton, and they shifted some of those people there in support of Dragon Age 4, and some of those people are continuing on the ridiculous and like drawn out revamp of Anthem, and some of those people left and went to BioWare Austin, I believe, but a bunch of them were reformed into EA Motive, because there's a handful of people I know who worked on Mass Effect Andromeda. Ian Fraser is, I think, the lead on this game, and he was one of the leads on Mass Effect Andromeda. So a huge section of BioWare Montreal, which no longer exists, like I said, was reformed, is in EA Motive now. Like, this studio was made to do this game and a couple of other games.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're doing what the enhanced situation is.
Well, I'm wondering because they did say for some games that they were going to, like, especially ones late in this life and like early in the next cycle, were going to be co-developed for both generations, right?
Sure. Yeah, and then also there's like the smart delivery stuff with Xbox where it'll get the if there is an upgraded version, you would get that.
Well, that's the thing I want to look into is this is the type of game I would want to get at launch, but I don't know if I'm going to buy it unless it has like hey, if you buy it now, we'll give you the free download for the new generation.
Star Wars Squadrons will not get a release on the next generation console, but it is expected to still be playable with backward compatibility. That was from Game Rant.
Ah, okay. So it'll basically just be converted to that. Well, I guess
not even. It just sounds like backward compatibility, not even like a change.
Okay,
but that's fine.
It
looks great.
This leads me to issues because I didn't want to get a launch Xbox Series X, but now I'm kind of feeling like I want to lately, like the last couple of weeks. But what
about that? If you get it with that deal, it's pretty sweet.
Which
one? That monthly payment, Jam.
You guys,
$5.
I gotta be honest. You guys confused the shit out of me on that episode with Dave. The episode of Game Bites that you guys
because there were so many things.
You guys went back and forth. There were so many options. You guys went back and forth 8 times. I do not know what any of those things are.
At the end of the day, I got B to buy an Xbox, so I feel that it worked out. But
you accomplished the mission of helping him buy.
That's right.
A console. You did not accomplish the goal of helping anyone else buy.
Oh no! Well, it's a very specific time. If you were going to, the idea was at the time of that episode, if you were going to buy one, probably don't, because new stuff was coming out. But he was ready to get in.
From the conclusion of now or later, yes, that was helpful. But
and then he bridged the gap.
I was
Here's
so
the deal.
Confused.
The all access
Jam.
Confused. Is it all access? I don't even know if the name. There's too many weird names for these things. I think it's all access. I could be wrong.
There was like 3 things that had overlapping features.
Which
that part wasn't your guys' fault. That's about the offer.
Oh no, I'm well aware. So it's called All Access. You can get a Series X. It's $35 a month, and it includes Game Pass Ultimate.
Okay. So
it's basically 0% 24-month payout for the Series X, but you're also getting the $15 a month Game Pass Ultimate. So at the end of the day, I think you save somewhere like probably like I don't know. I'm not in the financials of this thing. This is me spitballing. I think it's like $50 to $60 potentially over the long haul. But either way, it's no big upfront cost to buy the new system. You're just paying the monthly installment at a 0% interest rate. So as long as you have a credit score, I'm not even saying a good one. It's a low monthly payment. If you have a credit score, I feel like you'll probably be qualified for it.
That's been a whole thing. I'm really curious. I'd like to talk to financial people. Like, I have a financial background, but I'm not a financial person because I don't work in it every day.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on exactly with these big companies? They all want to become the bank, and they're all offering us way too attractive deals.
Well, okay.
I don't like where this is going.
No, it's pretty great. So
it's literally too good to be true.
100%
has been setting off my radar for like 5 years. I'm just too lazy to look at it.
We should have Brian come and talk about this for a minute because he did one of these gems where it's 0% for however many months, but the payment that they set you up at would push you over the month threshold where you wouldn't have paid it off by the end of that payment gap, like whatever those months are. And once you break that threshold, you then owe interest on everything prior.
Wait, what do you mean?
So there's like he looked into, I don't want to say the company because I don't remember which one it was and I don't want to get it wrong. That's but he's looking into he did like one of those deals with a tablet where it was like you get 0% for say whatever it is 24 months. I'm just going to give you numbers 24 months. But the way that payment is broken down, it would of the payment that he was paying, it would take 36 months to pay it off. It's 0% for 24 months, but you have to pay more than what their required payment is to actually pay it off in 24 months. And if you go past that 24 months, you then owe interest on the previous 24 plus the next one.
That's a whole different thing. That's
the dirty version of this.
Yeah, no, that's a whole different. That's a whole different, even more fucked up. So I guess that's what this whole thing is. Then it's just testing the waters to get to that. That has to be what it is because, like,
maybe
I went through it with like my car. Like,
yeah,
when I just bought my car, it's like they're way too excited to give you 0%.
Yeah.
Like, they gave me 0% before they did the credit check.
Yeah. Yeah, we have on Kim's car we have 0% as well. It was like a 39 or so.
Yeah. And it's like they were gonna give me as long a term as I wanted.
Nice.
So, like, yo, you want to pay for it over the next 100 years? We got you. And I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Whatever.
I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, what is going on here exactly?
Just check your payments and make sure that at the end of the term that you have signed up for, that you will have paid it off. That's the only potential gotcha.
Well, I gotta say, as infuriating as it is to set it all up to pay totally online, totally free of my involvement, it debits that payment on the day that it's due every single month with no holds barred, no issues. They still send me a paper copy of the...
Oh, come on!
Dude, I went through this with my old car. I bought that car 6 years ago. And we're still here. Different company, 6 years later, they still send me paper. And it's like, I've checked every box. This is email only. Please stop wasting the paper. Now, I shred
No.
I recycle it. Stop wasting the paper.
No, my favorite one is when, so this has happened, and what usually it happens to the financial institution of some kind. So if like it's a new credit card or if it's a new account or something, and you opt into paperless transactions, they send you a letter confirming that you've done it. I'm like, really?
Wait, no, actually, you know what? That actually makes sense, because if you were hacked online and you opted in online, there's no way you would know because someone else has done it for you because they've hacked you. So that actually makes sense. As a one-time piece of paper, not one I get every month.
Sure. Just a reminder, you get these notifications online. So on the line.
The paper opt-in, opt-out thing, I understand it, even if you still feel it's a little bit wasteful. I get it, right?
Sure.
The thing I'm talking about, pretty wasteful. You want to know the absolute worst one that I've ever received? So,
is it when you unsubscribe from an email and then you get the email saying that congratulations, you've unsubscribed?
I've gotten that before. That's fine. Because
I go.
Listen, the couple of digital bytes that cost Sure. Did it accelerate entropy 0.00001% in this universe? Sure. But it didn't actually waste anything realistic, tangible. There was no paper. There was no nothing. It wasted 1 second of my time deleting the email.
Precious second of your time that you will never get back.
Sure. But oh boy, how do I have so many wasted seconds?
Sure. But they were your wasted seconds.
So listen, when I started my new job earlier this year, I had to fill out a whole bunch of stuff to be enrolled in my company's 401k.
Sure.
I created an account online with Merrill for the 401k. That's the one our company uses.
Yeah.
Great. Set up. Perfect. Okay. You get onboarding paper in the mail to say you set up your account. Great. Totally understand. I then set up, because I had much more income than I had prior to that, a Roth IRA. I said, let me set it up with Merrill, because I already have an account.
I have a Merrill account. Yeah.
2 separate platforms, 2 separate apps. Little confusing, little bit obnoxious, even though the Roth IRA account shows the balance of the 401k.
I'm familiar with this situation.
Can't access it, can't mess around with it, whatever, but it shows it's there. Cool. Great. Synergy.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to set up the account on the Roth IRA with Merrill, I said, let me set it up under the same account that I already have the 401k.
Sure.
Need 2 separate accounts, totally different logins. Now, they're linked because I'm the same person. Like I said, I can see the one and the other.
So
they are
security
2 separate
numbers.
accounts. I went through the most insane bullshit trying to set this up. I called Merrill up and I was like, "Can I just get these 2 lumped?" They're like, "Yes." I said, okay.
You said, "Hey, Merrill."
I said, "Can I just get these 2 lumped under the same account?" Yes. So why won't it let me set it up under the same thing? Oh no, you need 2 totally separate like login credentials for it. Not even password. Totally separate login credentials. I was like, so then I ended up getting the 2 things confused. The password, the login thing, because it was saying there was already an account with Merrill with the name of, because I set that account up, right?
Sure.
I changed the password on the first account when I set up the second account because of this whole fuck up, right? I got a letter in the mail telling me I changed my password. Not an email. I got a letter in the mail.
Oh man!
Telling me I changed the password on the first account.
Whenever that letter arrived, it's too late. It's too late.
I got it 5 days later. Can you imagine the audacity of sending a paper correspondence to tell me that I changed my password that was tied to an email?
That's so good. I'm so happy about this.
It's the worst, most egregious paper correspondence I've ever gotten in my life.
That's amazing. That's amazing. One day we will get into my Apple developer account woes. That's a story for another time. Moving on. That's Financial Yeast for you.
That's a good one.
We're now moving on to The Mandalorian Season 2.
Oh, boy.
I am so excited.
Yeah, me too. That trailer showed us nothing.
It's absolutely nothing.
I'm still super excited. That is we've complained so many times about trailers showing us too much, so it's kind of nice to not get too much.
Yeah.
But that was actually the most offensively little that a trailer could show you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it was 2 minutes long. It wasn't a 30-second teaser.
No.
It was a 2-minute trailer.
It was the equivalent of doing a Season 2 trailer with clips from Season 1, even though they were all new clips.
That thing that, like, obnoxious people online do, would just to generate, like, views on their account. Like, oh my god, breaking, and, like, people, like, go review it, and it's just someone dubbed over different lines of different things.
The Mandalorian Season 2, The Truth. That's my favorite. Anytime I see a title of if your YouTube title, video title, has the words "The Truth" in it, know I'm not clicking that shit. Not only
not clicking, I've started blocking and reporting those things.
Nice.
Fuck you, stop doing those things. No one, they're not, oh my god, my brother tries.
Oh, no. So we're getting out of there. Back to The Mandalorian, which is delightful. Going back to delight. Surprise and delight. The stupid little thing of the little Yoda guy closing the shell. I was like, oh man, I know exactly where this is going. And then you start hearing like the blaster shots and the chaos. I was like, this is so good. And then I was like, you have to clear something up for me. At the end of that scene, he knocks somebody down to the ground. Was that a Night Brother?
Oh, I didn't. It might have been a Dathomiri. I thought it was actually the same type of guy. I'd have to rewatch the show. I only watched it one time. I probably should rewatch it again tonight.
Sure, same.
Today, but I actually thought he looked closer to the guy that was in the episode with Bill Burr.
Oh, you know what? I think you might be right.
That what's his name voice? Well, he was in makeup too. What's his? He's a great voice actor. He's been great. It's such a pain in the ass in Billions the last couple of seasons. He was in Shawshank Redemption. He was the not the warden, but the head of the guards.
Okay.
Totally drawing a blank on his name, even though I love that guy. He's so good.
Let's see if I can pull him up. Clancy Brown?
Yes, him. I totally blanked on his name.
Okay. Yeah. I think you might be right. That seems like it's more likely because it was like the horns on the rim of his head.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. But anyway, I'm just like, it's just like you see that and it's like October and you're just like, oh my god, it's so close.
Yeah, that's another one.
We're gonna get some man to watch.
We got what 2 weeks until Squadrons comes out, and we have 6 weeks until the Mandalorian comes back.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. So excited. Like you said, showed me absolutely nothing, but showed me more than I needed. I'm just in.
By the way, they sell they have space boats with regular ropes.
I'm sorry. What was that sentence?
We had space boats with regular ropes, like actual ropes. They looked like real life, like Earth 2020. Like you could find ropes, like ropes that we've been using the same way since I don't know, 500 years ago. Like,
what are you gonna need the fucking rope for?
That's what I'm saying. It didn't look like a space rope. It didn't look like a tactical, technological rope. It was a real life rope that you could find a boat today.
Yep. I mean, why not?
On a space boat in a long time ago in Galaxy Far Far Away.
Exactly. A long time ago is the key. Rope.
I'm just saying it was a little anachronistic.
Look at this Earth tool we found. Oh, man.
By the way, X-Wings?
X-Wings.
X-Wings.
X-Wings. I like X-Wings.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I was just surprised we got to see some X-Wings.
Yeah, I feel like they were like, we're gonna, like, when they did the first season, they're like, we're gonna go big and hope you like it. And everybody loved it. And they're like, we'll go bigger.
You want X-Wings? You got X-Wings.
Yeah.
By the way, Rosario Dawson, was not expecting her to look just like Rosario Dawson. I expected there to be, I don't know, makeup or something.
Sure.
Did I see that? Did you see something different than me? I know she's only on screen for 1.4 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think so. But
no, admittedly, she had a hood on. I'm sure we'll see the weird, head tail things will be some sort of prop.
I would assume so.
Thing. But I was expecting more makeup to make her look more red because Ahsoka red.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Decidedly not red.
She seemed just like Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
In a hood. Which it's fine. I was just a little surprised.
Right. Man, whatever. I'm in. I'm just so excited. Can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to check in on it weekly with you.
I do love. It was a pretty great line. The whole thing. And I know I'm paraphrasing poorly, where he says, "You want me to go seek out an order of enemy sorcerers."
I just like the one you see it like this woman figure, and then she's gone. And just the slow turn that the two of them make towards each other in this buddy comedy Star Wars show that we have, that who knew it was going to be like this? It's so good, so entertaining. That's what we will be watching. I am currently watching Dexter, as you know.
Oh, I actually totally forgot about that.
I finished season 4.
Oh boy, did you sit down?
Did you
sit down in a dark room?
I was definitely sitting down. I was like, now granted, the entire time I knew something horrible was going to happen, just because
Kim kept looking at you.
Yeah, well, also, the whole time she was like, she's like, basically before the episode came on, she was like, I don't know if I could do this tonight. And I was like, is it that bad? And she was like, yes. I was like, okay. I was like, well, we have to watch it at some point, and I would like to finish this. So we watched it, and I realized it was getting closer to the end of the episode. And I was like, oh, like by the end, I knew. I was already assuming somebody was going to die horribly. That's it. I'm not going to say exactly what happens. Don't worry, because I too am just catching up on it. I assumed somebody was going to die horribly. By the end of the episode, nothing like that had happened, and I was like, I know what's going to happen. But
well, that's the one problem with watching that specific episode with someone who's already seen it, because it's like watching it's actually it's probably not even as egregious as the Red Wedding in that context of like, because like you could be watching the Red Wedding and it's like, oh, something's bad's gonna happen, like someone's gonna die. No, everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You never could have guessed all of them were going to die, right? Like,
yeah. Place your bets.
Yeah. Right.
I would like to parlay the whole family.
Yeah, like someone's going to die. Okay, maybe a couple. No, everyone.
I think I just broke my finger.
Oh, wow. That was pretty nonchalant. Breaking of a finger, but...
Ooh, it don't feel good. That don't feel good. That'll be purple at some point. Oh. God. So, just for those... wondering, my hand is on the armrest of my chair. I swiveled. The armrest went under the desk. There is no clearance. So my finger just got like jammed in between the underside of the desk and the armrest, and it doesn't feel good. But luckily I have this quad beer over here.
To drink pain away?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that's why I didn't feel it as bad as I should. Because I already couldn't feel my finger. But anyway, I'm watching Dexter. I'm deep into it. I'm starting season 5 next. Took a break to watch some Lucifer, just because we're also trying to catch up on that. But
so overall, though, season 4, pretty strong.
Solid season. I didn't. So yes, what's his name? John Lithgow was creepy for sure, 100%. I was expecting
a performance.
That's what I was going to say. I was expecting to be more creeped out based on what I had heard about it, but I was more fascinated at how good he was.
Yeah, no, I don't think most people really highlight the creepiness of it per se. It's just the range of the performance.
Yeah.
Like he brings it in basically every scene.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Also the connections of like the patterns towards the end of the season, and I was just like, oh, there's a scene where he comes out into the open and into the police precinct, and it's just like,
that's such a great scene.
This is heavy.
Well, it's also it spawned. I mean, listen. So Dominic named his dog Dexter after the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so every once in a while, when he creeps into the room, I'll do what John Lithgow does to him. I'll go, hello, Dexter.
Morgan.
Yeah, just the way he delivers that line. Because I think that's the end of the episode, isn't it?
It is. Yeah,
it's like a mic drop, right? He walks up, looks down at him. He's got this like maniacal grin. Grabs his name tag. Now he knows who he is for real.
Yeah,
just delivers that line. Hello, Dexter.
It's the penultimate episode leading into that absurd finale.
I knew it was late in the season. I forgot that it was the end of the second to last episode.
Yeah, I at least that's how I remember it. I did watch them in quick succession, so it's possible that it was the third to last, but I'm pretty sure.
No, it might have been. I couldn't remember. I know it is one of those last couple of episodes, but
man, that was good. I'm into it though. It's decent. It's a good show. We're gonna actually talk a little bit about this when we get into the movie. But one thing that I have a problem with, actually, you know what? I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for later, so I can bring it back to Dexter when we do the movie. Moving on. Give me a news and nugget.
Okay.
Give me a news and nugget. You have a news and nugget.
Oh,
Give it to me.
Sorry.
Give it
I
to me.
did not hear that as like a question of a prompt of nugget. I'm sorry. I heard something totally different. Running, not telling, like kind of running updates on Defector. It's live. It exists. It is a real website now. You can go and interact with it and read it. Pay for it. Totally understand if that's not your thing. I'm not saying to you specifically, just to anyone listening to this. But if you ever enjoyed Deadspin like prior to it blowing up almost a year ago, then you will love the site. It's so many people who worked at that site, both way back and in the more recent times. It's got a huge cast of characters involved. All the names you expect to see, like Megan Greenwell, Drew McGarry, obviously, Tom Lee, Patrick Redford, a million other people. Super excited to get back to reading that website. They kicked off with a tremendous amount of content. It is predominantly sports at the moment, which Deadspin was always predominantly sports.
Okay.
They got with the Thursday night game last week, the first week of the year, they got a Drew McGarry, Dick Bag Jamboree. Is that what it is? I forget what it's always called. Dick Joke Jamboree. That's what it is. Sorry. Which is his weekly football column on Thursday about a whole lot of things, and then also football. And dick jokes, obviously.
Sure.
There's some great running gags that he does in that one. I believe next Tuesday will be the first fun bag, which he does year-round. People email him ridiculous questions or scenarios or whatever, and he does a masterful... Like, everyone's read mailbag columns, right?
Yeah.
And, like, they're fun. Like, they're usually good. Like, if you enjoy that writer, they're fun. What I appreciate about his in particular is it's got the irreverence that you expect from it. But the way that he weaves jokes throughout the course of it, where there's callbacks to something he answered 5 questions ago, is actually pretty incredible. I've never seen that before. Like, it's not high art, but as someone who's done a fair bit of writing and editing for the site and just, like, in life, I can appreciate his ability to create a through line through something that feels like it's supposed to be totally separate vignettes.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's cool.
Just like all the other shit on that site is always great. The funny thing is they've always had a ton of podcasts. I never really listened to any of their podcasts.
Right.
But a lot of that was prior to my involvement in listening to podcasts, which I've become a huge listener of podcasts in the last year and a half. But so I'll have to check it out and see if that... They were doing a Quiz Bowl weekly as well, which I haven't checked that out yet. I'm a little confused as to why and how they're doing that. Why really is what I'm mostly confused by. They started it up like 3 weeks before the website went live. They were doing a podcast several weeks before the website went live, but now the website is live. If you are interested in it, if you liked Deadspin, even as a casual reader, and you're curious to see what Defector is all about before you shell out for it, read the first post. I believe it's totally unlocked because it doesn't make a lot of sense to only offer it to people who've already paid. By Tom Lee. I haven't really paid attention to what the hierarchy is as far as who's quote unquote in charge there. Just in the sense of like who's like managing editor. Like I know that everyone working there has ownership stake in the site, which is good. This is the model realistically that real websites are going to have to go for moving forward. It's why newspapers are dying. It's why magazines are dying, even the online version of those things, because you don't have to pay to read them. Mm-hmm. And so the ad model does not support full-time staff of high quality production. It does not allow real reporting. Subscription model is the only way that these things will work. And
there's also ownership and accountability when you're a part of.
Well, that's a kind of a separate issue. Mm-hmm. They become linked in a very high level way, but just from the relationship of a reader to a publication and that publication's ability to do its job. Not about the whether they're working for profit or not, just their ability to finance doing their job. Mm-hmm. They're going to actually report, not just be a blog. Right. Which this one straddles the lines between those two. Deadspin absolutely, and its affiliate sites absolutely became a news arm eventually. They broke stories, but it started as a blog. They were having fun. They were commenting on all sorts of different things, and that's great. And you can do that relatively well, at least you could, with an ad-supported model. And there's nothing wrong with having ads as a part of your model, but it doesn't work unless you're generating an insane amount of viewership. Mm. Even something like The Ringer, which set itself up to do that, they got a ton of financing on the front end, and they had to sell themselves to Spotify. Now, they've retained their own control to some extent or whatever, but in the end, the money always has to come from somewhere. Ads doesn't work anymore. That economic model has not been viable for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see how this website works. They're not the first one to do this. The Athletic broached this a couple of years ago, but that's purely sports coverage. You see stuff like The Atlantic or whatever that you have to have subscriptions to, but even they offer a decent amount of their stuff for free. I think a fully funded version of publications, especially reporting publications, is probably the only way to get this to work. It's going to curtail viewership so much because we, as the American populace, are so spoiled to being able to read these things for free. We've been able to do it for the last 15 years.
Yeah, I over the last few years, I have been no stranger to paying for quality, though. I'm over that shit. So. Well,
that's what it comes down to, and it comes up with growing up, right? Because like I, for the longest time, felt that way too. Like I wasn't an asshole about it, but you see a lot of people, and maybe you won't see it as much because it's not the same. Because I see it mostly in sports stuff, especially with stuff like Pro Football Focus, stuff like The Athletic, and other similar sites where you have to have a paid subscription to view 90% of their content. And those writers, they're paid a full-time salary to do that job, and they do it well. Mm-hmm. And those places attract some of the highest caliber writers. They will post their stuff on Twitter. People start bitching. Like, you'll just look at the replies to paywall, 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 fuck you, paywall, paywall. And it's like,
yeah.
Could you imagine?
We don't owe you anything.
Yeah, first of all, like, we don't owe you anything. Like, you don't have to follow the person on Twitter if you don't want to read them. And, like, you have to understand that they get paid for a living. And, like, anytime someone says that, like, if you don't want to pay for it, fine. Like, no one's holding a gun to your head that you have to. Like, that, I don't have a problem with, like, you not wanting to do it. Could you imagine, pick whatever job it is that you do in life. Someone walked in and is like, I really like the thing you do. I'm not paying you for it, though.
Right.
Could you imagine doing that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the fuck are we talking about
here? Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, we're talking about, like, this isn't like, because, like, the way Twitter works, right? Like, someone might retweet a thing, and so, like, someone sees that because they follow you who retweeted it. They go to click on it, and it's like, oh, I didn't know this person wrote something. First of all, it does not give you license to throw a temper tantrum about it, right?
No.
But there's people who do this who follow the person on Twitter. Right. You already know they work for a pay site.
Yeah. Dude, let's not even go there, because Twitter and any sort of social interaction like that will just make you angry. So instead, what we're gonna do is move on to some fun and games.
Totally fun, and like I'm good. I'm good. No, I'm just so baffled by some of those interactions. Like,
I understand.
I'm excited for Defector. It's back. It's snarky.
I'm glad you got it back. I'm glad you got what you wanted. That's awesome.
And I paid for it. Whatever.
Yeah. Right. You paid for the thing you wanted. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good job.
Right.
And guess what? If you want to complain that you're not getting your money's worth, valid.
Yeah. Well, totally different conversation, right? There's a big difference between complaining about having to pay for something and paying for something and being like, this is not worth what I pay.
Right. 100%. All right, let's get into some fun and games. I've got one for you here, very, very much on topic with what we're doing for the movies. It is, which classic movie gangster are you?
I thought it was going to be about what financial yeast are you?
Which financial yeast are you? Oh, you're high yield yeast.
Yes.
All right, what are the odds you live? Excellent, good, poor. I don't think they're good at all.
This is a weird way to start off a quiz. Sorry, it's what mob? What am I?
Sorry, what? The quiz is, which classic movie gangster are you?
Oh, okay.
And the question is, what are the odds you live?
Sorry, what are they?
Good, poor, excellent. I don't think they're good at all.
I'm gonna say good.
Okay. What actor do you like best? Walken, Vinnie Jones, De Niro, Chaz Palminteri.
Who is Vinnie Jones?
I'm not sure.
Obviously, he's not my answer, but...
Do you want me to look him up? I'll look him up.
I mean, I'm a little curious.
Vinnie Jones. He was... Oh, you would know him. He was in Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He's the Juggernaut in X-Men.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah.
Okay. So, my favorite guess, De Niro?
Okay. What's your racket? Coke, muscle, betting, everything.
Let's go with muscle.
Okay. What do you think of your car? It's my love mobile. It's just a car. I'm afraid it'll kill me. I lend it out to kids I like. These are odd options.
Yeah, I don't like those options, so I guess let's go with the load.
Love mobile?
The love mobile. Oh, wow, I said load mobile, which is a weird, slightly related and much worse thing.
Oh, God. Where do you operate? Manhattan, London, Las Vegas, or the Bronx?
Let's go with Manhattan.
Okay. Are you dangerous to know? My friends are more dangerous to know than I am. I'd say I'm pretty dangerous to know. I'm not dangerous. Things don't go well for people around me.
Wow. Sorry, what was the second to last one?
I'm not dangerous.
No, that's not right. So I'm gonna need them all again, except for that one.
My friends are more dangerous to know than I am. I'd say I'm pretty dangerous to know. Things don't go well for people around me.
I'd say I'm pretty dangerous to know.
Are you aspirational? No, though I talk in an interesting way. Not unless you are a football hooligan. No, though I am cool. Yes, except for romance, career, and success.
Some of that first one resonated with me, so...
What? No, I talk in an interesting way?
Yes.
Okay. How cool are you? Like ice. Ice. Like a polar bear? Like the grave? Like a cold drink on a hot day?
That one.
Okay. What makes you cool? My devil-may-care attitude? My size and ferocity? My calm demeanor? I keep an even keel.
So this is what makes what?
What makes you cool?
Oh, the second one.
Okay. If you were in a rom-com, would it work? It might be if there's a dance number. No, I don't think so. They tried it, it made money, but it was stupid.
Well, judging on my romantic history, I'm going to have to go with 2?
Do people understand you, or do they need subtitles? I think sometimes they need subtitles. They understand me fine. I think they understand me just fine. I may be from the Bronx, but I talk real good.
The first one was that they sometimes need subtitles. I'll go with that one.
Would you work in a sci-fi movie? Would you work in a sci-fi movie? I would. It would be about drugs in space. I would, and I will. I'll show you right now, sissy. No, you don't have to change me too much. I don't think my story would work in a science fiction. Oh, I see. Would your story, work in a sci-fi? I get it now.
Oh. Yeah, I'm going to go yes. Was it I would and I will or whatever?
I would and I will. I'll show you right now, sissy.
I'm going to go with I would and I will. That was all one?
That was all one.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was 2 separate.
I just went with that one. Which hobby would you take up? Dancing, tic-tac-toe, chess, or poker? Tic-tac-toe as a hobby?
Yeah, no. I'm going to go with poker.
Right. What would be your drug of choice? Coke, cigarettes, booze, dope?
Booze.
Yeah.
It's booze.
Seems reasonable. Do you look up to anyone? Julius Caesar? Wayne Rooney? My dad? Great tacticians like Napoleon?
Sorry. I was so confused there. I thought you said Greek tactician.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Let's go with my dad.
Okay. What TV show would you binge? Twin Peaks, Vampire Diaries, House of Cards, Lockup.
House of Cards.
Is there something ironic about your name? My last name sounds like a euphemism for a drug. My nickname has to do with an injury I sustained. My nickname has to do with gambling. My first name sounds like the word for the relationship I'm about to corrupt.
What?
I
heard you.
No, I did too, but I wasn't sure if I got that right. Yeah.
I'm really confused as to what that's a reference to, because a lot of these have been like referential of things, and that one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What was the first one?
My last name sounds like a euphemism for drugs.
I don't like any of these options.
Blind pick.
Yeah.
All right. What would you do if threatened by the law? Take a beating if necessary. I wouldn't rat. Keep my mouth shut. I'd call my lawyer.
Call my lawyer.
Seems reasonable. What would you do if threatened by another mobster? Kill them and their wives and kids? I'd break his spine. I'd shoot him right then and there. I'd tell my pals who would rough the up a little.
Shoot him right then and there.
Damn. All right. But not the wife and kids, to be clear.
Yes.
If you had to go straight, what would you do? Run for mayor? Be a pit boss? Be a bodyguard? Run a distributor?
I guess run a distributor.
Okay. Which movie heroes did you like as a kid? John Wayne, he had such swagger. I always liked Arthur Lowe.
Who?
Lowe? Arthur Lowe? 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 My heroes were real people, like Patton or FDR. My folks didn't let me watch movies because they wanted me in school all the time.
Let's go with the real people.
Okay. What was the last book you read? The Burglar's Guide to the City? 100 Deadly Skills? Poetics? Scarn on Cards?
What?
I don't know.
Sorry, what was the second one?
100 Deadly Skills?
Yeah, that one.
Do you have a significant other? No. I'm available. No, but that's because I'm all business. I do, but the relationship has its problems. I have a significant other.
The first one?
Okay. Does your family approve of your profession? Sure, they're freaks like me. Jesus, they're all dead. No, but then they don't know because I lied to them. My father said he'd disown me, so I let him.
I guess the first one?
This is all very strange. How wide are your pinstripes? So wide...
There was a couple of pinstripe suits in this movie.
So wide they don't exist. Wide, it's the 1970s. Narrow, it's the 1990s. I wear Yankee pinstripes. It's the Bronx.
Let's go with that one.
Okay. How will you die? Gut shot, old age. I'll get shot by my boss. I'll get shot in the back.
Shot in the back.
Jesus, this is not the first time that you've chosen an answer in a quiz that was about you getting like shot, stabbed, or killed from behind.
Yeah.
What's your main crime? Drug trafficking? Assault and battery? Racketeering? It's tied up in a whole RICO thing.
Sorry, can you say that? That again?
Drug trafficking, assault and battery, racketeering. It's tied up in a whole RICO thing.
This is what's my crime?
Yeah.
Let's go with the RICO thing.
Okay. On a moral, not legal level, are you a bad guy? No, I want the best for the city I love. Yes, I am. Deep down inside, I'm the devil. I don't know. I let bad things happen sometimes.
Let's go with the first one.
I'm not entirely sure how many questions this quiz is. Where will you go once you're in witness protection? New Mexico? I know a chemistry teacher there. Puerto Rico? Louisiana? I teach game theory at Oxford.
Oh, wow.
I like that one.
I kind of like that one as well, but I'm going to go with Puerto Rico because there are beaches.
And no littering. What makes the best getaway vehicle? Comfort, speed, range, mileage.
I mean, as far as getaways go, speed, I guess.
Speed? All right.
Americans
you got
speed. Hot, nasty, badass speed.
You got Bullet Tooth Tony.
Who?
Yeah, it's the guy that you didn't know, the actor that we didn't pick.
Ah.
All right. It says, you are Bullet Tooth Tony. Tony, the menacing London underworld enforcer, known for having several of his front teeth replaced after an incident with a gun, a cutlass, and 6 shots to the head. You're a tough bastard. Emphasis on bastard. And you can be counted on to put the hurt on someone when push comes to shove, and shove comes to blows. When you go up against a bullet dodger... When you go up against a bullet dodger, though, be sure to bring something other than a gun, or you'll spend a lot of time cursing and reloading. I think this has something to do with Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, but I don't know. That was a lot of questions for an answer that we were not familiar with.
Yeah, I've definitely, I had heard that name before, Bullet Tooth Tony. I had no idea what the reference was from, but I had heard that before.
Sure. Well, with that, let us get into our flick of the week. The Untouchables, released in 1987, rated R, an hour and 59 minutes runtime. This is your IMDb synopsis. During the era of Prohibition in the United States, federal agent Elliot Ness sets out to stop the ruthless Chicago gangster Al Capone, and because of rampant corruption, assembles a small, hand-picked team to help him. That's a very apt description. Fun fact going into this, I knew of the Untouchables movie. I've known of it as a classic, something that I should have seen. I never actually realized that I didn't know what it was about. I had no context for this movie going in, which was awesome.
I knew it was about like police hunting mobsters.
Sure.
Didn't know it was about Ness and Capone specifically.
Mm-hmm.
The only other bit of information I knew about it, 2 bits of it were like behind the camera things. I knew Brian De Palma directed it.
Sure.
I knew Kevin Costner and Sean Connery were in it. I knew that Sean Connery won his only Oscar for it.
Oh, he won an Oscar for this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and boy, did he deserve it.
Supporting actor. So it's funny because after watching it, like I was super excited going into it, knowing that. I don't know if it was an Oscar-worthy performance, but I will say...
Oh, you don't think so?
I mean, I don't think it was like oh God, how did he win an Oscar for this thing? But like, I didn't feel like it was so good. It was like, oh yeah, there's no question. You know what I mean? But what I will say is, unquestionably, his best performance of all the movies I've seen.
Mm.
And
yeah,
there's a thing that I noticed along the way. This was the most engaged I've ever seen.
I agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
Like, as Bond, it was early in his career, relatively speaking, in the sense of like him being a star, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't like his first role, but it was the first thing that he was like the lead in being like the star of it. And like that's all fine, but it's not exactly high acting, right? Like high quality acting per se. Like he did a good job, but he's playing a camp. It's a camp.
Yeah, it's a camp character. Right?
Yep. So the couple of things that I think of him being in, I've never seen all of Hunt for Red October. I'd like to. Considering I love all things Jack Ryan and Tom Clancy typically, although they don't always make the screen very well. I've seen like the first 15 minutes of that movie. So I know he's considered to have a pretty good performance in that. I know he does a horrendous version of a incredibly Scottish tinged Russian accent in that.
Awesome.
Like The Rock is not exactly high quality fare, but like
sure. Just one note on that, on his accent. That accent is so thick that you need to wade through it. Like it's ridiculous. Like in the best way.
It requires a machete.
Yeah,
it requires a machete. Like The Rock, like he has his moments in that, but you can see he's rolling his eyes at times.
Sure.
Even Indiana Jones, he has some great one-liners. There's a couple of scenes where it's like, okay, he decided to be serious here, and I'm just assuming that Lucas was like, hey, you've been fucking around. This scene. Okay, George, whatever. You know, and he's playing a crusty old man, which is what he's been for 60 years.
Yeah, he's been the same age for at least 60 years. He's got reverse Paul Rudd syndrome.
Yes, like he's 90 years old. He hasn't been acting seriously for the past 15 years. And for easily 30 years before that, he's just been a crusty old man. And that includes times that he was in his late 30s and early 40s. So
right. I think in that movie, Finding Forrester, he was credited as crusty old man.
I assumed it was Forrester, but I never saw that movie. That's probably his last real serious role, because he only has one or two other things after that to get to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Fun movie, not a good movie. He is fun playing a fun, crusty old man. It's his last feature film role, and that's in 2003. Finding Forrester was in like 2000.
Okay.
So this is the only meaty role I've seen him in outside of those things that I've mentioned, really. I would say Indiana Jones, honestly, is probably his quote-unquote best role of all the things I have seen him. Like, just as far as, like, occasionally showing the acting talent. But he's mostly just playing crusty old man.
Yeah.
He is engaged start to finish in this movie.
Yeah, there's something going on here. Like, they all are.
And I mean, part of it is probably an appreciation of he was post-hype at this point. Bond is done, and had been for years. Mm-hmm. He's now old now and has to decide, do you still want to do this? Like, do you want to be an actor or not?
Right.
He's working with David Mamet and Brian De Palma, who are two legends in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like, it's not like he's working alongside, like, Costner was not super famous yet. Like, I know he had leading roles at that point, but, like, he wasn't Kevin Costner yet. That's roles was 3 years later. But Connery definitely impressed me. Like, he was very good. He had a couple of scenes where were pretty stand out. But he is still playing a crusty old man in this. Like, it is.
He is. He had the most, like, well-written lines for, like, almost a monologue-esque delivery, which were really great. And the way that he like, really leaned into, like, he seemed to, like, really get behind them when he delivered.
Well, that's what it is like, and that's something I've noticed more as I've gotten older, because I've heard certain criticisms of certain things, and it's like, it can be hard to separate my own, like, perceptions of things that I've known of from when I was younger, where it's like you'll hear something like now about people saying about older movies that I remember watching as a younger man, as a teenager, as a kid, that I've continued watching through, where it's like, oh, this person nailed in that performance. I'm like, what are you talking about? That movie was great. That character was great. It can be hard to see it.
Sure.
Because you're affected with that bias.
Sure.
But viewing similar situations now that I don't have that emotional attachment to, I see it more now, where it's like, oh, you just expect that person to be great. It's like, oh, wow, no, they kind of mailed it in. It's like, just like their natural talent carried them through, but it's like, they don't actually care about what they're doing. It's just their baseline of professionalism that's requiring them to do a certain amount.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I didn't get that from him. And I'm realizing now as I get older that he's mailed in a lot of performances, and he did not mail in a single scene.
No, not at all. One of the things that struck me watching this with Costner was that he very much to me resembled Chris Evans. Like in his younger years. I feel like he looks like Chris Evans now. He had like a Captain America vibe.
Kind of. I gotta look up what the hell his name is. I totally forgot the name of... Because I went through the same thing with Andy Garcia. I didn't even recognize him at first.
Yeah.
Did a pretty good job of playing an Italian guy, actually, for being someone who's decidedly not Italian. And I realized, and I'm kind of just vamping right now, that he reminded me of... And I totally can't remember the name of the actor right now. He's in all those Wes Anderson movies, and he's in, like, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He played Gideon. When he was young, he looks just like him. Jason Schwartzman.
Oh, okay. That's kind of funny.
And Andy Garcia in this movie looks exactly like like a clean-shaven, like, Jason Schwartzman, especially, like, him specifically in Scott Pilgrim, because he has the long, slick-back black hair. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I guess it wasn't real slick back in that, but still, like, similar enough hair. Like, clean-shaven, but you can see stubble, like, where it's like he could grow a beard if he chose. Like, he could grow impressive facial hair if he chose to. But he's
like, if you needed him to have a beard, he could in a few hours.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He looks a lot like him in this movie. In fact, I didn't recognize him at all. It took a couple of scenes. I don't know. Eventually, there was one scene where the camera caught him just an angle. I was like, oh, that's Andy Garcia.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's funny. He was good. He was great, too.
He was. He's playing a Jewish guy who's actually an Italian guy, but he's really a Hispanic guy. Like, you know, I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. But
acting.
Yeah, well, acting is what's going on, right? Like, yeah.
That's funny.
It's like the reverse Scarface, where Italians and Jews were playing Cubans, and in this case, a Hispanic guy is playing an Italian guy who's pretending to be Jewish.
Yeah, that's funny. We'll give you a tweet length review.
A different sort of noir, a different sort of gang movie, a different sort of Connery. Heck of a flick. 8 out of 10.
Nice. Well-structured, perfectly paced, and compelling. The Untouchables is truly worthy of the classic label. 9 out of 10. I was very happy with this movie. It was just like, it was one of those things. So diving right in, the movie kicks off. Like I said, did not know anything about the movie. Nothing. Knew nothing about it except for the fact that it was well regarded. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
Put it on. Started watching it. We kick off, and immediately I'm not left in the dark. Here's a little block of text. this is what the movie's going to be about. And I was like, oh, this could not have been more well timed. I was like, okay, cool. We're going to get into this.
This is nice.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, this is exactly what it's about. Awesome. And then it starts off with this, you have that Capone's in the barber chair. He's getting like the interview from the press. It's tensions rise very quickly because like you're not really sure like how it's going to go. Then there's like a little thing that could easily set him off, and like the person that does it is very scared. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like we're diving right in.
I was totally expecting that to pay off eventually with that guy dying, and I don't think he.
No, but just the idea of establishing like the fear, I think was really well done in what 40 seconds.
Something like that.
Like, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you're gonna put him on screen. You're gonna give him this commanding presence, and then you're gonna bring out the fear, like right away, and show you what we're like. Here's the stage. This is our bad guy. Like, and I think they did a really good job with that.
By the way, De Niro looked terrible as Capone.
100%. He looks as bad as Tom Hardy does as Capone.
Also,
which leads me to believe that Al Capone looked terrible.
Yeah, I mean, there's a growing bit of proof on that front. But what I noticed in this scene, and it was only reaffirmed throughout the course of it, is that Brian De Palma is nearly as big a fan as Martin Scorsese is of overhead shots.
Yeah, there's a lot of overhead, and there's a lot of up. It's like just the awkward, the flipped angle, and
some overheads that lead directly to the
the swing, like the camera swing. The movie. Yeah, for sure. They that was definitely a thing that stood out to me was cinematography. Like it had that like there's I don't know. It's almost like I guess that gangster movie vibe, like because of like someone like Scorsese too, like just like. What you're talking about, like that overhead, the way that they frame the shots for one-on-one conversations, the way that they push a certain character on screen into the commanding role based on their position on camera, like it's a design language that is very present in a gangster flick.
There was another thing that I noticed too, and as many movies as I've watched, and I would say I've only become a very amateur study of cinematography and camera work in like the last year and a half, say, not even the length of this show, really. It's come from watching a movie a week. It's come from watching as many TV shows as I do. I wonder what the genesis of this, because as far as my experience and actually paying close attention to it, this is the earliest chronologically I can think of where there was a specific choice made in certain scenes to have, I don't want to call it exactly a oneer, like where it's like the one continuous shot on an indoor and hallways, but they do a decent amount of it, or like what is like approximating it, right? Where it's following the action through a hallway. Now, not in the same way that it's used now, which is specifically in action sequences, right? Like, think whether the new or old boy scene with the hammer in the hallway, I think it's become super popularized in Daredevil and some of those shows, right? Where you're going to have a big, long, extended set action.
The opening of that last James Bond movie that we did.
Yes. Spectre.
Yeah.
Yes, it's become a really big thing in the past 5 years or so for action set pieces. But and then obviously it was a whole movie for Birdman. And I guess they did that for what's it called as well, but it's different because it was all outdoors in The Revenant. But specifically, I'm noticing like in sequences indoors in hallways, it has a particular effect. It can have a very claustrophobic.
100%
in a good way.
Tension rising.
Yes.
Yeah, and they did it. I like the way that they do it in this movie. They do it through POV shots too, which is really interesting. Like where they put you in the shoes of the bad guy in one instance, which was really awesome.
But I, in particular, I know my thought on this whole one shot is married to what you're saying about forcing the action to have a particular like importance of a certain character because of their placement in the shot. And I'm thinking specific. We're pre-spoilers. So the scene in the precinct where everything goes to shit, I'll just say it that way.
Yeah.
When the elevators are opening and closing and people are going on and off, the way the camera works in there to highlight certain people at certain times, characters we know and characters we don't know, and to highlight the significance of looks given from one person or another, facial expressions that are used, and like that tension of it really makes you feel like you're there. I don't know if it was a handheld or if it was on a track, but the way that it continues as a continuous shot going this way up the hallway, and now it's pivoting, but also still traveling, and then it comes back here, and now it's going up this hallway, and now it's going back. Like, that was really compelling.
What I loved about that particular scene that you're talking about inside of the...
And nothing happened yet at that point.
Nothing happened yet, but the idea is that you were on edge a little bit beforehand, because almost like a, too easy? And you know that...
you get a sigh of relief, and it's like, well, this can't be right.
Right, and your core cast of characters is also feeling that way.
And celebrating.
And but in between it, they're looking over their shoulders, and that's with that camera shot. No, just the two main ones are, but with
even
that,
then, you sense the sense of they finally take a breath, and they're going through the motions of security and safety.
I don't know. I got more of the impression of that something was still not right. Like, their gut was telling them that something was still not right.
Their antenna goes up eventually, but at first they're paying lip service, because if you think about it, the way things go down, if they were still up to the full level of security they've been showing to that point, where they don't trust anyone, they would not have made the choices they did then.
That's true. But they put you in it. They basically make it so that, similar to their characters, like, they know something might be going on, they're letting it happen, but it almost doesn't seem like they actually are in control of their actions. It's very impressive.
It was like if you knew you were going to be on an episode of Punk'd, and you thought you got to the end of it, and you've been carrying yourself in such a way, like, I'm going to get kicked in the nuts at some point. And you keep your head on a swivel, and you've been wearing a cup.
Right.
And someone tells you, like, takes a camera, and they had the camera, they put it down, like, okay, we're done rolling, like, you're good. It's like, okay. You take the sigh of relief. You still, like, kind of looked around, but it's like, okay, like, we kind of made it through, and then you get kicked in the nuts. Like, that's what happened, because they was a camera over there.
100%. That was that's an intense scene. Really, really well executed. But that's honestly, like, that's one of the things that, like, so circling back to one of the things about this movie that, like, really blew me. Like, I was just in it the whole runtime. Like, there wasn't a moment where it drops. Like,
I will say I would have liked to have watched it totally unbroken, just the way the schedule worked for me this past week.
You had to break it up. That's fine.
I didn't get to watch it until last night. I started watching it like 7:00, and the Islander game came on at 8:00. So I watched the first hour. Then I watched 3 or 4 segments during intermissions for 10-minute pieces, and then the final 15 minutes tonight, like 2 hours before we started recording.
No, for me, I was just like, I thought I might have to break it up, because I ended up putting it on late, because I was finishing the 4th season of Dexter. Actually, this is a perfect time to talk about what I wanted to do before. I was finishing the 4th season of Dexter, and there was like 2 episodes left. I was like, I kind of want to watch these. And then it was like 11:30. I was like, I still got to watch the movie. I was like, I'm assuming that I'll get halfway through it, and I'll watch the other half tomorrow beforehand. But I was so into it that I watched the whole way through.
So that's what happened kind of to me, where it's like, okay, I got done with work early, got home, took care of everything I needed to take care of, ate dinner, showered, 7:00. It's like, okay, 2-hour movie. At least, like, that's what it showed up, because I had it recorded. Like, it was 2 hours and 2 minutes. 2-hour movie. Islander game starts at 8. I have 1 hour. I can get through half of this movie. There's 2 intermissions. I can watch 10 to 12 minutes of it, and then I can finish up the last half hour or so right after the game.
Very efficient.
Because, like, hockey games are a little shorter than, like, football, baseball games. Like, it's, like, just over 2.5 hours. Like the game will end at 10:30. I'll watch the last half hour or so. I'll be done by 11:15, say 11:30, worst case. Go to bed. The Islander game went into 2 overtimes.
Oh, man.
So the game didn't actually end. Like, it was getting very close to going to a 3rd overtime until, and, like, I was texting with Alex, friend of the podcast, Alex, because he's an Islander fan too. He's like one of like 2 Islander fans I know in the world outside of like me and my dad. Sure. And like me and him were texting, and I was like, oh god, it's 11:30. If this game doesn't end in this overtime, I'm not going to be able to watch the third overtime because it's 15 minutes before they even start the third overtime. It's not even going to start till after midnight, and I got to go to bed. I got to get up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning for work. And, like, I need to sleep because I'm on the road all day. I cannot be on, like, a 4-hour night sleep. And, like, I sent that text to him, and 90 seconds later, the Islanders won. I was like, thank God. Thank God for so many reasons. But, like, I get to go to bed, but I'm not going to be able to finish this movie.
Oh, that's funny. So circling back, I brought up Dexter again. There's a... So one of the things that this really stood out to me twice yesterday while I was watching. So once while I was watching Dexter, and then again while I was watching this movie. It's a conversation that we have had on the show previously. There is a thing in Dexter that I don't like that really bothers me. Okay. I understand what they're doing. There's these scenes of they constantly have these scenes where Dexter's father Harry is in the scene and he's talking to him. It's part of Dexter's head, right? It's him basically divulging to you, the viewer, what he's thinking.
James Remar's finest role?
It was with?
It said James Remar's finest role.
Is that what his name is?
The actor's name, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. I can't stand it anymore. So at the first season, I was kind of okay with it.
He's such a great character, though.
Yeah, he's okay. So I have a huge problem with this character. Not the character. Sorry. I have a huge problem with his execution. That character is spoon feeding you every single emotion that Dexter is going through.
He's a psychopath.
You don't need it though.
He's a psychopath.
No. Listen. One of the things that we've talked about in the past is that show me, don't tell me. Just do the thing. You don't need to hold my hand through this. I understand the range of emotions that he's going through because they've done such a good job setting him up and showing you how he reacts to things. Like they don't need to. They were doing Harry way more often this season, in this fourth season, than they needed to.
So what you have to understand about Dexter in the context of when the show came out, because the first season was in the early 2000s. I forget what year. Was it 2001?
Probably. It was
2004 or something like that.
Let's hope that it was early because there are certain things that they say that should not be there. But
sure.
Yeah.
People didn't know what psychopaths were. Like, psychopaths was anyone who was crazy, right? Like, back then. This was the first character, to my knowledge, that had mainstream, like, viewership that defined to a generation of people what an intelligent psychopath was. Because think about when you were a kid, like, you would call anyone who did something crazy or weird or different a psycho. A psychopath is a very specific thing. There is a specific clinical definition for what that person is. They outline it very well in the show. Like I said, that's a long time ago now. That's 15-ish years ago that show came out. So it wasn't a part of the public lexicon the way it is now. So you're going through this thing that is dated now with your current understanding and knowledge of the topic. And so they're explaining.
I would say that that's fair. I would say that that's right. However, it was not. It's done very poorly in the fourth season. It's done too often and too much. Whereas in the first and second season, they lay that groundwork enough for you to understand it, and they actually don't do it as nearly as often as they do in the fourth. There's too much breaking in the fourth season.
But so you've accepted the first part of it. The second part of it is, by the end of the show, Dexter isn't really a psychopath anymore by the clinical definition of the word. Because part of being a psychopath is that you do not feel human emotion the way that other people do. And he does.
Sure.
So season 4 is what tips off the fact that he can be a person. I
do understand what you're saying. I'm saying the execution is poor. There's too much of it.
It can be a little heavy-handed, but considering...
It's also very repetitive.
Yes, it can be. But considering the context of the time period and what they were trying to do, it doesn't bother me because I understand why they're doing it.
Sure. And I will say that it's okay. It's okay that I'm not going to yield. I don't think today it doesn't hold up. It's not going to hold up.
Sure.
It works. I understand the context. You now have
part of why it doesn't hold up is because of that show, though. it's almost like a recursive function where it's broken itself.
Sure, it wouldn't be as egregious, but it is still a shortcoming of the execution of the I would say maybe of not writing or directing. I'm not really sure. Somebody should have called out that we are actually getting this from the character on screen. We don't need the voiceover. We don't need this extra scene.
Yes.
Because it actually means so much more coming from the character's facial expressions and coming from their interactions with people.
Yes.
And you've already given it to us once, twice, 700 times this episode. Like, stop. Like, move on.
You're right about that. I don't want you to feel like I'm like saying that your point isn't valid. There is a greater context that I think outweighs what you're saying. Even though what you're saying is true, it's just not like it's true, but it doesn't affect it as materially as it should. Like if you view it within the context of when the show happened. Like I phrased that
while I understand what you're saying, I also don't think that it's on me to view it in the context of when it happens. I can appreciate it and I can respect it.
I mean, it doesn't hold up. A lot of things happen within a snapshot of like the time in which they happen.
Well, right? Let me bring you back into the Untouchables, where it is perfect execution without spoon feeding you the entire thing. So what I'm specifically getting at is Ness's character, where you are given once vocally that he is a lawman. He skirts the issue of how he feels about prohibition because to him, that's not the point. To him, the point is, this is the law, follow the law. To him, it's cut and dry. And that's all you really need. And then what they do through actions and through the rest of the movie is they let you see him flirt with going past the law because he can't get what he needs done and then juggling this imbalance of like, the only way to succeed in upholding this is to break it and what that's doing to him internally. And it really does break him down, but they're never telling you that. They're
using this to close the book on that specific part of the conversation about Dexter. Dexter is often held up as the poster child for, oh God, why couldn't we get to where streaming is at now where we don't have to have 13 episodes? Or whatever it was.
That's a good point. That's, yeah.
That show is often held up as an example of really good show.
Should have been 8. Should have been 7.
If they were allowed to say, oh, this season we only need 9 episodes, it could have been like approaching perfect. Because there's so much that goes right for that show. But it does, and it's not every season, and it's not every episode. Like sometimes like 90% of the season is perfect, and there's just like that one episode that's like, oh, some of this is filler.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of times that show is held up as an example of this season probably should have been 1 episode shorter. This season probably should have been 3 episodes shorter. This season, that was fine at that amount of episodes.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I would say like particularly this last season was right. I feel like they definitely did enough there. The only problem was certain execution within it. Filled the space perfectly, right? Like, and so this movie, it fits within its confines perfectly. It neither overstays its welcome, nor does it feel like it needs too much more that could have had from what it did have. Mm-hmm. And so they can explore that space adequately within it. Like sometimes less is more. Yeah.
And in this movie's case, that was true. If you took this 2-hour movie and you made it 8 hours long, you probably would have had more explication to justify why the runtime was so long, right? And then you would lose something in, like, it wouldn't be the potential work of art that it is or whatever, because now we're explaining to you, Elliot Ness didn't feel very good.
Yeah.
Like, he would have a conversation with his wife. Oh, my wife, because we never get her name.
Right.
Ness's
Lady.
Wife. Ness's
Lady
wife.
in the house with the kid. I believe he also calls his kid the baby.
He does. That child's 4 years old.
Yeah.
Ness's wife.
Hang on. Can we talk about the one major flaw in the movie?
That we don't know she's pregnant?
We don't know that she's pregnant. We don't know how much time has passed. My assumption is that night where he had a lot of work to do and she pulled him up to the bedroom, she got pregnant. So I'm assuming 9 months had passed.
So the scene that we're introduced to them, right? And as it was going up, I was like, oh my God, is that Patricia Clarkson? And we were talking about Paul Rudd the other day and how he hasn't aged in 30 years, neither is she.
Yeah. No, she has not.
She looks exactly the same in this, in 1987, as she does the first time you see her as Tammy 1 in Parks and Rec in, like, 2012.
Yeah. Could not agree more.
Except that her hair color is different. That's the only difference. But in that scene...
I can smell the sulfur coming off your hooves. I know that was a different Tammy.
If you watch when the scene pans up, and we see her face for the first time, and I think she was making tea or something like that, and it was before he goes to work for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's wearing like a nightgown. It's clearly early in the morning before he goes to work. And I'm like, either she's pregnant or that's the least flattering shot of a person that's ever been done on screen.
Okay.
Because they say nothing about it. They don't even like intimate where like, you know, she's like, oh, you know, good luck at work. And he like absolutely
touches her
rubs
belly
or like,
yeah.
Nothing at all. 45 minutes later, she has a kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, so she was pregnant. Thanks for establishing that.
Yeah.
Like, it was never like when they're worried that like Nitty is outside the house and he's threatening them and he freaks out and goes to find the kid and he's like hugging her with his gun out and like, you know, he does the whole thing with where he thinks he's got him for the first time and, you know, and he comes home and they, you know, oh, like there's some innuendo as to whether she's going to brush her hair or have sex with her. At no point do they ever in any way, shape, or form establish that she's pregnant. Right. Other than that one first establishing shot of her in profile in which it was like, man, she is really getting an unflattering look at this or she's pregnant. Because that's the only indication that she's pregnant until she has the kid.
Right. Yeah, that was odd. It almost seems like something was cut. Like there's like a director's cut somewhere where there's more to that. Like that's definitely a piece that was... That was the only thing that I was just like, wait. What? I was also like, seriously though, how much time has passed between when the screen went dark a moment ago and now?
No. So like they do establish it then, but even then, like she doesn't look like she's like about to give birth. Like she looks like the way that a woman does when she's like 4 or 5 months pregnant, and you're like, should I ask if she's pregnant?
The answer to that question is no, Al.
It's always no, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
I got you. But that one particular thing threw me off. We're still in pre-spoiler territory. There's one other thing that I think is worth bringing up here, and that is that I never noticed wardrobe. I never noticed costume. Right? These are not really things like unless like it's like a cool sci-fi movie or things like that. Like when it's regular clothes or like a period piece, it generally doesn't. I guess the non-breaking of the period piece is usually a helpful indication that they did the costumes right. That's fair, but I never really pay much attention to it.
A lot of 3-piece suits in this.
But I would say while I was watching this, and I was like, "This looks good." I was like, "This looks good," and then I was like, I remembered like it dawned on me that early it was like this like there was like they made a big notion on like the screen that costume and garments were handled by Armani. And I was like, I remember early on seeing that in the beginning and being like, okay, whatever. Like, you know, like it's like come up because the only reason I noticed it is because, you know, in that time when you made a movie, it starts off with a good 3-4 hours of credits, and then the movie starts. And
do you remember John Wayne movies?
That was one of the ones that I saw. So
do you remember John Wayne movies where they had 45 minutes of credits and a theme song that they made for the movie,
right?
Sometimes with lyrics.
Yeah.
And it's like, because like, you know, you hear a composition, it's like, okay, this is generic composition. It could be from something else that I've never seen before, heard before, or it could be something they made. But how much could like just a little orchestral like flourish be, even though it's 45 minutes long, but it's kind of repeating, right? Like, and then like there's like every once in a while where like you hear like, and then like someone starts like singing a couple of verses, and it's like, oh wow, they made a song to like, I'm going to come up with a John Wayne one, and of course it's not going to be one that had one, but like Rio Bravo or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, they're singing about the Rio Bravo, and there's no song in the world in which anyone has ever said the words Rio Bravo. What are the odds? Yeah.
So we get this thing. I make the note of like there's like that there's like costume design was called out early on. And then, like halfway through the movie, I believe Kevin Costner is holding his gun and hanging off the side of a car, like while they're driving or while they're about to move or about to. And I was like, man, I don't know what this scene's about, but he is straight up posing for a magazine. It's like that's like his suit fit like exactly right, and like this was going on throughout the movie. I was like, these people look really good.
Well, we were talking earlier about both of us starting to gain an appreciation more for some of the cinematography things.
Yeah.
Wardrobe has got to be probably one of like the last things, like wardrobe and score. Mm-hmm. Like at least in good movies where it's like the specific choices made in this score or in this wardrobe are actually part of the characterization and plot. Like, yeah, I'm not there yet. Like every once in a while you kind of catch something, but it's like you'll see something online, like a breakdown of things. Like even in something like Avengers, there's an appreciation of like people track down like coloration of sky on Vormir and stuff like that as the shift in mood. Oh, that's still beyond.
Yeah. 100%. I'm with you on that. I will say I'm definitely closer to it with the music than I am with the wardrobe. But
yes, especially that article I read, and I know I mentioned to you. I know I sent it to you. I don't know if you read it. That one around the time that episode 9 came out, there's like a John Williams scholar. Like that is like, I don't know if it's his full-time profession, but it's a paid hobby, we'll call it.
Okay.
Where he has scholarly articles and like study of John Williams' score across movies, not just Star Wars.
Yeah.
But specifically, a lot of it obviously is spent on Star Wars and like how important the score is to characterization. And like, it blew my mind where it's like everyone knows a handful of themes. Like that's like Leia's song. Like, and if you're really good, you know it's called Loving or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But then to understand, like especially when they get reprised or whatever, and as part of like bigger arrangements, and like the fact that certain ones are only played not just because it's like, okay, like the way an establishing shot is made where it's like, okay, the Imperial March is playing because Darth Vader's here, right? Like the fact that some of these things take on importance in actual characterization and narrative importance, and some of them are even characters themselves. Like the theme song for The Force is essentially its own character or a representation of the Force as a character in the movie. Right. Like that's insane to me. Like,
yeah, I'm with you.
And Star Wars may be some of the most heightened versions of that, but there's a lot of movies that have that. It's like, oh yeah, wow, that's so beyond me.
I mean, for me, it's Hans Zimmer. Because I can just listen to one of the soundtracks and know exactly what's happening in the movie and the story, just because I've been listening to it for a while now. But
that's a lot of narrative stuff. I don't know Zimmer's stuff as well as you do. I don't know how much of it lends to character and characterization.
Sure, I think it's more thematic, but yeah, yes. I get what you're saying about that for sure. About like especially the Force. that is absolutely true. Avengers, the Marvel movies, the characters each have music that pairs with them, and if you start to get acquainted with it, if you are listening to the album, you can connect which characters are on screen based on what you're listening to. Yeah, which is really cool too. There's also it really Hans Zimmer is the one that does. He's my standout. That's the one that like really gets me. But there's it's gotten to the point where like the music in certain scenes and in certain scores can be like super overwhelming at times. Where like I've been working and listening to soundtracks just in the background, and then all of a sudden just like almost get like a little bit overwhelmed, and like I'm like, what is happening to me right now? And then remember like what it's from, like, and like what's going on like in the movie that it's in. It's like, oh my god, like this is heavy. The other one that it hit me the other day was the music for Black Panther kicked in, and I had just watched it and I was feeling very attached to it when I watched it the other day. So it was just like hearing that again, I was like, oh, like this is another one that's doing it. But what I had not realized, like I said, I knew The Untouchables was a classic. I did not realize that the music was going to be such a big deal going in, but there are parts of that score. Like I continually will go on Spotify and I'll add like some random person's epic movie playlist, and I'll just play that for the day, right? And music from this movie, like when it started playing, I was like, I know this. Like I know this, and I've never seen this movie before. It's because it has made its way onto those playlists, and I was like, this is really cool.
See, I would never think to do that listening to random things. Like I would like. I've thrown on, especially if I'm going to do writing or editing, like, or if I'm going to do a marathon session of like editing a bunch of Brian's stuff for like the site, like I'll throw on a score to like, it's a Star Wars.
Sure.
Like Lord of the Rings. Like I've thrown on scores for like Mass Effect or stuff like that. I could never imagine myself throwing on like a compilation of things that I may or may not have like heard from movies I may or may not have seen.
Yeah. It's I very much enjoy it, but this movie definitely also has some pretty great music in it. I want to let's dive further in and just say from this point forward we'll be lifting the veil so that we can go full spoilers. But I mean, if you've gotten this far and you haven't seen it, like I said, I hadn't seen it until last night.
Me either. The reason we talked about it last week because I mentioned a few times in the past few weeks, like I want to start serious. Like if I was off, I've been working sometimes entirely too much through the pandemic, through quarantining and all that. Like I have always wanted to get to old classic movies. We obviously love movies because we do this movie podcast. I know you feel the same way, even if our lists don't 100% overlap. This has been one of the ones that's been on my short list of the much longer list of classic movies I want to get to.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely. So like we're saying, like if you're interested in that type of stuff and you haven't seen this, it's absolutely worth your time. Pause here, watch it. Don't let us spoil anything else for you. Like it's a good movie. It's very awesome. So diving in, we're in post spoiler territory now. One thing I just want to point out, I have the IMDb page open on IMDb at the top. You know how they have like the carousel of pictures from the like stills from the movie. Sometimes they swipe across. One that just popped up was a picture of the calendar. Yesterday was September 15th. I was watching Dexter. They open the count. They point out a calendar on the date, September 15th, circle it. Boom. We're like, whoa, me and Kim, that's weird. Then later on, I'm watching this movie. Movie kicks off. Little girl gets exploded. And then they turn into they go into Ness's house. His wife is at the calendar, rips off the 14th. It's September 15th. I'm like, what is happening right now? It's the weirdest thing. It's very unsettling. But speaking of that intro, when it blows up, I was like, oh, it's this kind of movie. Like I didn't know where we were going just yet, but I was like, oh boy, this is gonna get dark.
Which is funny because as I was watching this movie, I was like, man, the idea of what like a dark mob movie is so wildly different in the last 25 years because like this movie is dark.
Yeah.
For then.
Yeah.
Because if you made that exact movie with today's sensibilities, it would look a lot different.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, man, like I can only imagine like this was probably like people were like, oh fuck, this is like a like
like, buckle up.
Me, like, yeah, and for me I was like good movie, yeah, but like I never felt like the weight of it on me.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like other than that one scene with the little girl, like I never felt like the weight of this movie.
Maybe the scene in the elevator.
Well, like it was a rough go, but even that, like you don't see it.
Yeah,
that's part of it. Is like there's a more innocent and maybe it's like it's not even tell don't show. It's just like you don't need to see. It's actually kind of like it feels like we're Baby Yoda closing the little pod over ourselves and hearing the gunshots. Like it's a certain version of storytelling, right? Because you move it off of the victimization and onto the observer. And that can be powerful in its own way because with one person's story ending, to see the ripple effects that it has on the people who survive them is important. In a way, though, I think it was done back then to... I mean, like, gratuitous violence was different then versus now, like what was acceptable like on screen. But I think also a certain point of it was like kind of a veneration of the dead then, where it's like it almost feels exploitative. Like, it's fictional, right? Although this was a real story, right? But the movie is fictional. Yeah. And, like, we didn't actually see a man die. We watched an actor who portrayed a real person who died.
Yeah.
And it feels almost, like, exploitative maybe to watch that happen and see the after effects, where it feels like, okay, we see blood spewing everywhere, but we didn't watch it spew. And we see... Untouchables scribbled into the blood, and we see it's kind of created into a tableau, but nothing approaching something that you'd see now, like the show Hannibal. Literally about tableaus in most episodes of serial killers killing people in these very performative ways.
Yeah.
And We don't see that in this. We see a quick flash of the victims, but the one more important, the one we care about was, what was it? Was it Oscar? Was that his name?
Yeah, I think so. Oscar Wallace.
Yeah, and then he's treated very gently by the gruffest of all the characters.
Yeah.
You see, as he's
that was
moved.
Intense.
It's the respect, and it's also a certain amount of respect from the filmmakers to the character as well. That sort of thing wouldn't happen in what you'd call a quote-unquote like gritty, realistic. Like, I have to imagine that's how this movie was viewed back then. But compared to what quote-unquote gritty and realistic things are now, it doesn't hold a candle. It's got kids' gloves.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why that is, but maybe it's our own loss of innocence that it doesn't feel...
Oh, sure.
That's why I didn't feel like I didn't wear the weight of this movie the same way that I would if it was made today.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's also, we we understand serial killers, kid getting blown up, not a big deal. That's where we're at today.
That line from The Dark Knight, right? Like, they blow up a transport with soldiers overseas and nobody blinks an eye, but I threaten to blow up one hospital and everyone loses their mind.
Yeah.
Like that's what, like when you expect it, you're desensitized to it. It's only when it truly shocks you. And something made back then can't shock you the way that things are now because we've crossed boundaries many times over as the generations go. Whether that's right or wrong, it simply is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, circling into some of our favorite parts of this movie, because that actually, the scene that we were talking about with with the Touchables on the elevator, that was the culmination of the scene that we were talking about in the pre-spoiler territory of walking through the police precinct. While like everything's a little bit chaotic, we're a little bit on edge. Still doesn't feel just right. We have a gut feeling, but we're not necessarily listening to it. And then something horrible happens. And I will say, having what's it called? Having two of our main characters get we're only four untouchables, right? Our four guys, and like two of them getting taken out is actually pretty intense. That's 50% of our main cast is gone,
which is incredible, right? Because like this really happened.
Yeah,
like I'm sure there was some creative liberties, but like this is a real story.
Yeah.
And like if like we were read up on like the details of the history of Al Capone getting arrested, like we should know those guys are going to die. But I imagine you experienced it the same way as I did, where I didn't have I know Elliot Ness hunted down Al Capone. I know they got him on tax fraud.
And that's about it.
That is about it. Like, I know that Al Capone was involved with, like, bootlegging. Those are the only things I know about this. And it happened in Chicago.
Yeah. I did
the fine details. I've never heard of Malone or Stone or Wallace. Right. I've never heard of those guys.
I appreciated the Wallace, like, basically telling you from the beginning of the movie, like, we're going to get him on tax fraud. That's how we're going to do this.
Well, it's like that did track with me, where it was like, I knew that was how they ultimately got him.
Right.
And so when he came out and said it, I was like, oh, that's kind of like a funny foreshadowing. Like,
yeah. And then him constantly bringing it up.
Factually in real life happened.
Which, okay, that leads me into potentially one of, if not my favorite scene. I am a sucker for a recruitment / trading / getting ready montage.
Oh, it always works.
Pulling the four Untouchables together was awesome. Granted, it's so funny because it's actually really short. Really, we only go recruit one guy, then we go back to the office, and he goes, "You got a badge? Yes. Now you have a gun. Come with us."
Well, the best part about it too is like Wallace is just treated like a punchline, like he's a comedic afterthought, the same way that the photographer.
Yeah.
And it's like, he doesn't have time for him. And then all of a sudden, he's part of the core four.
Oh, yeah. He's the badass. He also... How many guys does he kill on that bridge?
Oh, my God. And you want to get to favorite moments? I know we didn't do a favorite moment.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like the way this discussion has broken our structure from the last several months. But like, because this actually feels like a throwback to some older episodes we've done.
Sure.
And this movie, I think, probably has benefited more from that.
Yeah, I think so.
Weightier movies like this, movies that have really like stuff you can sink your teeth into, I think work better with this sort of discussion.
Sure, anything that's not popcorn.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. To go back to that structure is that scene on the bridge, because man, did that go full circle where we took a character who looked like he was just going to be a comedic afterthought, like I said, and he gets real development throughout the course of the story. He goes from a literal pencil pusher who's like a doofus and like you keep like, like you're the nerd, like you're talking about tax, like we're trying to get this fucking murderous thug.
Right.
And like along the way, the two characters, like he forces Ellie Ness to think of what his job as a treasury agent actually entails.
Yeah.
It's not just you're not a cop.
Yeah.
Like, you are a treasury agent. You have to look at the big picture here. And he says to you work for the FBI. FBI agents, they do investigations. They crunch the numbers. They look at they do all this like detective work. But at the end of the day, you got a badge and a gun because when the shit hits the fan, you got to be ready to go. It doesn't matter that you look like a nervous Nelly. You're gonna pick up a shotgun. You're gonna ride a horse. Yeah, we're gonna get into some shit right now.
That was so good. I will say, because they basically set it up. You look at this guy and you're like, they do this on purpose. Where like you see him and you go, if it comes down to fight or flight, you would assume this guy's running the other way. That's the way that they build the character up into that scene, which makes it so entertaining.
When he just Rambo by the end.
Oh my god, it was awesome when he runs out of ammo and then charges the guy.
And hits him with the butt of the gun?
When we also realize that he doesn't know the other guy doesn't have ammo left.
Well, the gun jammed, right?
Right. Oh, that's right. It jams. Like, he doesn't know that's gonna... Like, he's going all in. That was crazy. The way that scene ends, though, with him taking a sip of the liquor that is pouring out of the... That was just...
We go from, kiss. Like, teetotaler pencil pusher to literal badass, shot up 2 trucks, kills a bunch of dudes, like... smashes in this dude's face with a shotgun and just swigging this illegal Canadian whiskey.
Yeah. Oh my god.
With a grin on his face the whole way.
So that was so good. That entire scene is actually amazing. From the beginning of like being on top of the mountain, talking to the Mounties, describing like how this is going to go down, how we're going to coordinate, to everybody like basically fiddling their thumbs, twitching, freaking out inside of the cabin, except for Malone, right? That's Sean Connery's name. Except for Malone, who's trying to tell them to calm down. He's like, this is part of it. He's like, you just live in this until it's time. I like that he goes to Andy Garcia's character. Did you already check it? Yeah, then leave it alone. that was a great line.
Which is great, and like that's like, but you could argue it as like, okay, maybe this is part of his like process, whatever. Like, there's like real, tangible life advice that could have been applied to anyone to what he says to Ness, right? The meeting has been arranged for a certain time. The clock will work when it does.
Right.
Like, there's no point in like hemming and hawing and work. Like, it'll be when it's gonna be. Like,
yeah.
Until now, like, you can be nervous, but like pacing isn't gonna change anything. Look at the clock. It'll happen when it's gonna happen.
Paired with the perfect punctuation of eating a salami with a butcher's knife. But I love that they ride out there. The way that they incorporated the horses into that scene was really awesome. It made it super exciting, like a cowboys and Indians type of like.
Oh yeah, that went full Western.
That was awesome.
Also, I have to say, I wonder. Again, Mamet script, super famous like screenplay writer, De Palma like directing. He's known as one of like the old school auteurs, right? I have to imagine that was an improvised line when Malone chases down the guy with the ledger and says, "Enough with all this running crap." Yeah. I have to imagine that was just a take. Where they probably ran that take 8 times, right? And he's chasing him down, and he just says to De Palma, not even to the other actor, "Enough with all this running crap." And he goes, "You know what? This works for this scene. Fuck it."
Yeah. Check the gate. I do love when we get Ness gets back into the house, and there's that one guy that's hiding. The way they do that scene, that's like a very noir scene, right?
Yes, and I'd like to hear what you have to say. But I must interject.
Yeah.
Where the fuck did he get that grenade from?
Yeah, I don't know. Had it in his pocket?
They had shotguns, which, by the way, were not the right weapons fit. They should have had rifles or Tommy. Like, Stone has a Tommy gun. Like, he's the only one. Why do they have shotguns in a scene like where they have to engage at distance?
Yeah.
You don't engage from horseback at distance with a shotgun.
Yeah.
But where the fuck did he get a hand grenade from?
Yeah, it's not clear.
He whipped that out of his pocket, and I was like, that a fucking hand grenade?
I think we're just supposed to assume that they were like stocked up, like and ready for battle.
But a hand grenade?
Yeah. Well, there was the line in the beginning about hand grenades and Tommy guns.
What policeman issued a fucking hand grenade?
Is it possible that he grabbed it and we didn't see it? Like, did he maybe grab it from one of them? Or like from the car?
I was wondering because it's actually the only plausible explanation, but we don't actually see that to my knowledge.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But please continue on with what you were saying.
Oh no, yeah. So I love that scene, right? So the bad guy goes into the cabin. Ness is on the outside of the shot, like closest to the camera, against the wall, next to the window.
That was actually a cool shot, although I do question the physics of that. I have to imagine he'd be able to see him.
He would 100% see it, but he's doing almost like a Roger Rabbit-esque look out the window, which was pretty great, because that made it feel like the 30s. I don't know, like just the way that they did it it made it feel like an old film, which is really funny for a movie that's a little bit older, doing an even older take, right?
It's funny, actually, even at times, I actually thought this was a movie that was slightly older than it was. Like I thought this was more like 1980, not 87.
Mm-hmm. Which actually makes it even more impressive, right? Like the later that you go to get that much of that older feel to feel natural, it's pretty amazing. That whole sequence, the grenade getting in there, holding the guy up to the gunpoint, telling him to drop it, telling him to stop, and when he shoots him, when Ness shoots the guy down, and then he's real mad that he had to do it. He's like, you don't speak. He's like, what? You don't speak English? Or like, you don't hear me? Like, he's like, what was that? Like, he's having a monologue with himself, yelling at this corpse.
That was the only time where I kind of laughed at the movie because I was like, well, no, he doesn't speak English. You could clearly hear him yelling at you in Italian.
Sure, but I mean, he spoke English. I'm fairly certain. That was just an Italian curse.
No, that one character. No, he says I think 2 separate lines in Italian.
Oh, interesting.
That wasn't
well.
An Italian
Either way, he knows what he's saying. I don't think it really matters if it speaks English.
Well, you can certainly infer what he's saying.
Sure.
Like the guy has a gun on you.
Yeah.
Like he's clearly a cop. They've busted up your whole thing, but no, he literally couldn't understand what you're saying. He only speaks Italian.
Yeah, but I do love that. Like this movie does that thing where like every little if we're gonna do something and we're gonna leave it around, it's gonna come into play later. And like I feel like they did a lot of, except for the baby, or apparently maybe the baby bump did come in later. That was the only indication that the child was going to be born. Anyway, but leaving that body there, but not in frame from the doorway, was actually really the way that actually is all staged is perfect for the coming scene, which ends up being a tremendous scene.
Yes.
Malone's losing it. He wants the information. He wants to know what's going on. They're this close. They're playing good cop, bad cop. Whether or not Ness realizes it.
I thought they were playing bad cop, bad cop.
No. But when he goes outside and he picks the guy up and he's holding the dead body up and he's holding him against the window, I was like, this is great. He's going to shoot him.
Yep.
And the way that they played into that with the camera angle and showing you the guy in the chair that they were trying to get the answers from.
Yeah, because the guy in the chair could only see like his right shoulder through the window.
And he's getting increasingly more scared as that scene is going on, to the point where he freaks out when Sean Connery shoots him in the face. Like, that was so well done. I really... And then the Mountie going, I don't approve of your methods. He's like, well, you're not from Chicago. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Well, and it's also like, it's like a pretty good, like, that's why they can sell it, right? Because, like, Stone and Ness know the score, although you can see they're slow on the uptake at first.
Yeah. And
meanwhile, like, the Mountie captain has no idea what's going on. He thinks he just murdered a guy.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, well, I guess technically he was out of his jurisdiction. Do about it, other than to throw that jab at him, you would have hoped someone would have gone to him on the side later on and be like, hey, buddy, it was a dead body. And like, yeah, even maybe that's not fair play, but like, we didn't execute it, dude. Like, we're not crazy. But in the moment, it's super important that he thinks that they just fucking executed a guy.
Yeah. So that he's unsettled too, making the whole thing more real.
Feels authentic, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Great scene. Great scene. Big fan. Let's see. What else we got here? That note that I had on that was dead guy for dramatic effect. Let's talk about another. Okay. So here's.
It's funny because my note was executing a dead man. Heady play.
Yeah. Nice. I want to talk about my least favorite scene in the movie.
Oh, well, least favorite.
Yeah, I'm jumping into least favorite for a moment here. Because it is the stroller going up the stairs.
It was a bit much.
Was horrible. Going down the stairs, fine. That was slow and enough time to make it dramatic. That's cool. Going up the stairs?
It was symmetrical.
Oh my god. That was 40 minutes.
In order to get kinetic energy, you first must have potential energy.
Oh.
In order to have the long, drawn-out tension of the slow-motion carriage rolling down the stairs, you have to take 45 minutes to drag it up the stairs.
That was horrible.
It was.
It was horrible.
Well, you know what it was horrible for? The way we got a De Palma overhead shot. Mm-hmm. Many of them actually cut up in quick succession. But
over, under.
Yeah, well, there's actually, the over-under, too. The one I thought about in particular was when he falls off of when they were on the roof, he throws Nitty off the roof, and you get an overhead shot, and then it flips to under as he's staring down at
with
Nitty.
The clouds behind him.
Yeah. Obviously they did it a bunch of times, but that was the one in particular I think of when you say the over-under. But this one, they're cutting back and forth. I assumed, she was at first I assumed she was an insurance policy. She was, because, she's, making a big deal about the carriage, and then she's like, oh, you stay there. I was like, is there a bomb in the carriage? Is there a bomb in the suitcase? Because she puts the suitcase down. I thought that's why he was staring at her. Mm-hmm. And the way that the camera was playing, because it was similar, that woman who comes out of the elevator before they execute Wallace. The way they shoot that, and the part of that whole one-shot thing I was talking about, the way that the camera pivots from point of view to point of view, she's clearly involved in the whole situation. Mm-hmm. I assumed that was the case with this too. And we already know that these people have no compunction about killing children.
Right.
Because Nitty kills the little girl at the beginning with the bomb, right? Or just doesn't care that he kills her, right? So I was wondering, is there a bomb in the suitcase? Is there a bomb in the carriage? Is the baby not real? Is she going to scoop the baby and leave the carriage? And the carriage is the bomb?
Right. And
I thought that's why he was watching her, was because that's clearly not correct, this in the situation. And no, it's just, I really want to go help that lady who's all alone with her.
No, it was more specifically, that's what's another thing. There's clear cuts of who Ness is, and he cares about family and kids, and he's worried in that scene. He knows that there's a very high chance that this is going to get hot fast.
Well, there was that too, and there was the line earlier about maybe you think about it differently because you had a kid or whatever, it's layer, right? There's more than that. It's he wants to be the good Samaritan and help out. He's afraid that they're going to get caught up in all of this, and he's on edge to begin with. There's all of that. I do think she went with a terrible game plan.
Oh my god! First off, the reason why it would be totally reasonable for you to think that either the baby or the carriage or both are a bomb is everything that she does makes no sense. First off, she moves the carriage towards the steps. Then she puts the bags down, 10 feet away from the carriage. Then she comes back to the carriage and re-angles it. Then she goes and grabs the bags and brings them back. And then she moves one bag up the steps. And then she goes back down. And then she re-angles the carriage. And then she moves another bag up. I was why? It was, it was making me physically, I was getting angry, in that moment. I was because it was, everything about it was unnatural. Even if it was a bomb, that's not what she would be doing.
You know what that scene was? That scene was watching Peter try and scoop the frog with the
It's 100%. It's exactly what it was. However,
I'm just the whole time I'm watching it, I'm screaming at my television, walk up the first bank of stairs, put the suitcases there, grab the. This is 1930. This is before people were worried about kidnapping babies and suitcases and
yeah.
Just bring put the suitcases there.
Yep.
So I'm not saying walk outside and put them all the way up 3 flights of stairs. Top of the one flight of stairs. Bring the carriage up. Move up one more flight of stairs. Bring the carriage up. What are we doing?
It's very, very simple. But, however, all of this heartache, all of this agita, led to potentially maybe my second favorite line of the movie, which is, "You got him? I got him. Take him." That was a great scene.
The worst part though, after right before that, because we're watching, like, he's profiling them as they walk through. Like, okay, like, maybe it's this guy. Oh, no, he's just waiting on his wife and friends. Like, okay, like, someone's coming through. No, it's a family. Oh, someone's coming through. No, it's just a little, or actually, sorry, I don't know why I called her a little old lady. She's just, like, a single mother with her baby or whatever. All this stuff. There's a couple, like, Navy guys who clearly just got home from, like, and then, like, some more Navy guys. And I was wondering, I was like, man, like, because he's watching them, and I was like, maybe he's going to enlist them to help, and, like, they're going to have, like, this patriotic, like, duty. And two of them get shot trying to save the baby, and I was like, oh. And, like, neither of them even succeeds. I was like, fuck, man, like, those guys just got home from, like, a tour on duty, and, like, they're just trying to have some leave, or maybe they've been, like, honorably discharged, and, they got shut up for no reason, like, in the middle of this, like, senseless thing. I was like, that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely supposed to add to that, like, the heaviness, for sure. For you guys, oh man, 1, 2, that was awesome. That's such a great scene. Oh man, that was also. I mean, that's another thing. Like I said, like they put something there early on. They call it back. They make a good point of it. Like they show you how good of a shot he is. Like that was like a whole thing. He was a prodigy. Like that whole thing.
Also, by the way, I know the Weaver stance hasn't always been around, but fuck, they taught them how to shoot a really weird way.
Yeah.
Let me just turn my whole body and fire one-handed, like, to look like a badass. Like, that's the type of thing you'd see in, like, a 1990s action movie.
Yeah, yeah. But it's such a good scene. Where else we got? What else you got? Give me some notes. You got any notes? Oh, I have a crappy note here that I want to just pepper in real quick. Okay. I watched this on Stars. I have not watched something on Stars in a very long time. They watermark the whole movie, like, or not the whole movie, but like maybe 80% of it with like short bursts of not having it. I was like, I get it. Like, I know I'm watching this. What is this doing for anybody? Get the Stars logo off the screen.
Well, what is it doing for anyone in 2020? I understood why they did it in 1995. Because back then, you put the TV on, and whatever channel you were on, you didn't know. Yeah, now you got a guide.
That's right.
What am I watching? Oh, I'm on Stars. Okay.
It's on Stars on demand. It's Stars. I know it's Stars.
Well, sure. But you know what I'm saying? Like, because like for me, I watched it on Stars as well. Yeah. But like it was on, I have DirecTV. I saw it was going to be on. I recorded it.
Right.
Watched it. And like it has the watermark on. Like, totally understood why that was a thing pre-guide. But now?
that was just a stupid thing that I had no. You can go on now. I think you're going somewhere.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the mentor-mentee relationship between Malone and Ness, but I actually liked even more, even though we got much less of it with like being in the foreground. But Malone and Stone, as he's teaching this young gun how to be a cop, how to be like honorable, and how to be a part of all of this stuff. I actually really like that relationship because even more so, it was like a father-son. Because like Ness and Malone feels like an older brother, younger brother type of thing. And with Malone and Stone, it feels like a father-son thing.
I do love their that core interaction they have when like we first meet them, where he makes a racial slur at him, and they go back and forth. And then when Stone puts the gun to his neck, Malone goes, I gotta like him. That's a great scene.
It was a nice moment at the end when he finds the St. Jude thing,
heavy,
and then he gives it to Stone. I thought that he was going to follow him and become a treasury agent. Like, I don't know. Like, honestly, after I was like a cop in Chicago and I busted up everyone's good time, I wouldn't want to stick around in Chicago.
Sure,
that's a great way to get shot in the back.
Yeah. Which we've learned over numerous quizzes is one of your fears.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it.
Who's going to get you?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'm not afraid of actually literally getting shot in the back, but...
Fair enough.
Metaphorically speaking, getting Julius Caesar.
Jesus. Another favorite line of mine, when we're in the courthouse and we find out the jury's been bought, and then we go into the judge's chambers.
So brazenly, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When we go into the judge's chambers, and Ness goes, I need a moment. And he talks to the judge. You don't hear what they're saying. He goes back, and the judge eventually makes the call to switch the juries. And the TA turns to him and goes, what did you tell him? Wait, what did you say to him in there? I told him he was on the ledger too, but he wasn't. I know.
Which just goes to show how dirty this was. But, it actually made me wonder because, and this is actually probably one of the very small failings in this script / direction. I wish they showed us a little more about the corruption. That was one of the very few things that we were told about more than we were shown. I mean,
that's
don't
fair.
Get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like, Wallace dies, the informant dies. Like, we saw it. Like, there's the whole situation between Malone and that guy he knows, and like their relationship where he I need to feel I need to feel what that guy feels because you see like one glance out the window when I think it was that Malone's cousin who was killed in the car.
I thought I wasn't sure. Like I'm assuming I was a little confused about that. Yeah,
I'm assuming it was because they trusted him as a driver in the past,
right? Because
he was Malone's cousin. It's like one of the very few people he could verify was legit,
right?
And who else would they use to drive the informant they're going to put under protection?
That's fair.
So I don't know it was him,
but they don't really address it.
Shot like you see him from outside a window. He's down in the street, like. I couldn't tell, even watching it on my fucking projector, I couldn't tell if it was the same actor, and he only gets one line in the movie or whatever it is. But I just assume that's who it was, because, who else would they use?
Yeah.
I need to feel what that guy, I don't even know what that cop's name was, what he feels. I need to see, those cops, we kind of see the implication of what, the corruption's about, but it doesn't ever feel real. They don't trust people, but you don't feel that palpable paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
In most of the scenes. And because in the end, right, he implicates the judge. The judge would have blown up if he wasn't in the book.
That was interesting, yeah.
He wasn't in the book, but he's obviously on the take, otherwise he wouldn't have done what he did.
Right.
Now maybe it was one of those, I'll do one thing for one little thing, and I didn't feel good about it, but I can't allow it to impugn my honor. Maybe he's not nearly the offender that some of these other people were, right?
Mm-hmm.
But clearly he's involved, otherwise he wouldn't have done what he did.
He's implicated in some capacity and honestly, yeah, that almost seems like it's a little bit of a gamble, but I feel like at that point, yeah, he made it up just to get the point across, but the gamble, it's a bluff, right? He's assuming,
it pays off.
Yeah, he's assuming that in some capacity, everybody in this town seems to be a little bit dirty because what Malone taught him was to trust no one. So
yeah, but that's why they trusted the DA.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
That's what I'm saying. I need to see and feel a little more and also that relationship there too, because they put a lot on that DA's shoulders, and he is firmly in their corner. Yeah, he said I won't take it to trial because I don't have it, but you can understand why. Because that dude's gonna get fucking iced if he doesn't get it right.
Yeah.
So I totally understood that. That wasn't about corruption. That was just about covering his own ass. But once they get the guy dead to rights, he could have found a way, just like the judge could have found. That was pretty fucking concrete evidence, and the judge was like, eh.
Yeah.
And it's the DA is in their corner firmly. He's celebrating with them when they get Capone.
Yeah. So
we're to believe he's the only ranking member of the judicial system who isn't on the take?
Yeah.
Which, I'm sure there's someone who's clean, right? But that's that would have been one of the key targets for Capone to turn that guy, right?
Sure.
So, show me something there. What was the motivation for him to be clean? You expect some sort of moment where, whether you see it or it's a little conversation about, why he's the guy you can trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why they were able to. Yeah, I understand. I see what you're saying there.
And as far as, the background of the movie, the world does feel real and lived in, but it's still, the threat of the dirty cops feels very specific to certain scenes. It doesn't feel as pervasive as it should have. Where, oh God, it's everyone, or 95% of them, or whatever it is, we can't trust anyone. It's very scene specific, and it's hard for us to, relate to that phenomenon, seeing so little of it, seeing how it affected the cops themselves. We see, that guy was a little bit conflicted, but not really that conflicted. It's just kind of, because, in the end, right, it's he sees the guy's dead and just kind of nah. And then he says to Malone, well, I'd hate to see it happen to someone I know.
Yeah.
That was the furthest his compassion could extend, is oh yeah, we used to work together. I don't really want you to die.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't ever feel real.
Yeah. I'm with you. There's a speaking of on the take, this scene where the guy tries to bribe Ness calls the other guys back in, calls everybody back into the office, and then throws the stack of money at his face. Is really
literally
great.
At his face.
Yeah, it hits him like square in the nose, which is just awesome. That's a good scene. But the one thing I wanted to talk about here was there was a phenomenon, I feel like, a long time ago that like maybe we get it every once in a blue moon now, but I feel like it happened more regularly, like in the 90s, 80s, maybe even and definitely in some like older classic movies, of the closing line just being a real, just a sick line that they drop at the end of the movie, the last dialogue in the movie, as like the character walks off into the sunset, basically. And they nailed it in this movie. It's so good.
What was the final line?
The scoop goes, "Word is they're going to repeal prohibition. What'll you do then?" And Ness goes, "I think I'll have a drink." And then he walks off. And I was like, just to solidify who this character is, like we said earlier, like he doesn't really seem to have a preference or care about prohibition.
No,
he cares
just
about
totally
the
about
law,
the principle.
Yeah, which I think is such a I think he was able to maintain. I think that was trying to show you like almost like him maintaining who he is as a person, even though he went through all this crap. Like he came out with some scars and maybe had to make some adjustments, but at his core, he's still the same guy.
I did think it was a little odd the way it went. I wonder how that happened in real time as opposed to what was revealed much later down the line. Because no one fingers him for throwing Nitty off the roof.
Right.
At least, right?
Yeah.
And, like, there was clearly murder. Like sure. He was going to kill him, then decided, no, I'm a lawman. I'm going to arrest him. And then he decided to kill him.
Yeah. Well, he decided to kill him because of what he said about Malone, but yeah.
Sure. And I totally understand why he did it, but like, that's not a good reason for a cop to kill someone.
Sure.
And then he goes downstairs to have the major confrontation with the judge. And he says in that meeting, I've had to break and become what it is I chose to fight just to take it out. And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we're gonna have like the powerful moment where it's like, we gotta be the guys who's not going to take a drink while we're on the job. Like, you probably should have fessed up to murdering that guy.
Yeah.
Like, in the process of going through all of that. Like, because it feels like he gets to just walk off and, like, into the sunset, like you said, is like, killed that guy.
Yeah, I do think, there's something to it of, like, the Malone basically pushed him to the point of understanding that there are going to be things that he's either going to have to do and stifle emotionally, like to get through this, or or it's not going to get done, or he's going to go down for it because he's not going to be able to come out with his hands clean.
There was a big difference earlier in the movie, right, where he kills that guy and he says, "Yeah, would you rather be him?
Yeah,
than go home and sleep?" Like, there's a big difference between where the 100%. Heat of battle, like self defense, and I do have you dead to rights, and then I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
After I've already gone through the whole thought process of I'm going to kill you, no, that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously a big part of it is being the White Knight and then, finding out whether he can be the Dark Knight,
Right.
What are you prepared to do?
Yeah. So anyway, about that last line though, like I'll probably have a drink. It got me thinking of what are some other like awesome closing lines of a flick? Right, just a real fun, like really a great send off. And I was curious if you had any, but I pulled up this list that came from Short List of the 50 best final lines in movies. I was curious if there was any that came to the top of your head.
Well, it's funny because I'm struggling to think of any of them now, but I'm thinking like you mentioning that mic drop moment of like walking off with a great line, right? But I was thinking this whole time, especially because they say the word untouchable a couple of times.
Yeah.
And it's actually fairly early on when the alderman says it, right?
He said it.
Well, and like if they didn't do it at any of those points, like as soon as you brought up the thing about saying that line, I'm thinking of like this is like would this have been one of those movies going back into that time period where it's like he has a final monologue as he's like walking off and he goes, "We were truly untouchable." Like that's the type of thing I picture.
Oh man! So I popped this list open. There's a couple of. I'm gonna scroll through and pick out any that jump out to me, and stop me if there's any that either you think of or that means something to you. But the first one on the list is actually pretty good. It's from Fight Club, and it says, "You met me at a very strange time in my life." I think that was a good line in context. The classic from Back to the Future, roads. Well, we're going. We don't need roads. That's awesome. And the one that's on this list that is potentially my favorite, obviously, you know I'm a big fan of Memento, but the closing line of Memento was, "Now, where was I?" Which is such a great, like, in the context of everything going on in that film, is just so perfect. We got The Matrix on here. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you. It's pretty solid. In Seven, William Somerset says, Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." I agree with the second part. It's a good line.
I'm thinking now, as I'm going to interject, and I would expect it's probably on there. Was it the last line? I know it's one of the last lines. I think it might be the last one. I think I'm about ready to have another adventure. The end of Return of the King, Bilbo, when he gets ready to step on the ship.
It might be. We'll see.
I think it's the very last one, but it could be the second to last.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if it's second to last, it won't make it on, I'm sure. But they also have in here, obviously, Lieutenant Gordon at the end of The Dark Knight. He has a pretty lengthy line there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see this original Italian Job, but
I've never seen the original.
The line says, "Hang on, lads, I've got a great idea," which I just can only imagine in the context of what that movie's about, that it's probably pretty great. We have Usual Suspects, pretty well known. This one's good. Did we do Psycho on the show, or did I just watch it during the run of us doing the show?
We've never done Psycho.
Okay, so Psycho, the line is, "I'm not even going to swat that fly. I hope they're watching. They'll see. They'll see, and they'll know, and they'll say, why she wouldn't harm a fly." Did you ever see it?
No, I told you several weeks ago when I saw North by Northwest. That's the first ever Hitchcock.
Oh, Hitchcock. That's right. That's actually, that line, when you watch it, it'll make a lot more sense. That line is actually pretty creepy. We have Woody in Toy Story 3, "So Long, Partner," which was when we thought that was the end, was pretty pretty intense. Silence of the Lambs. "I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner."
Yes, that was a classic.
Awesome line. Let's see what else we got here. This one is from Home Alone. "Kevin, what did you do to my room?" Awesome. Lethal Weapon ends with "I'm too old for this." I believe it's a shh as it cuts. "I'm too old for this shh," and then like it cuts to the. I believe.
I forgot that's the final line because he says it a few times.
Yep. Great one. Iron Man. "The truth is, I am Iron Man." What a great! Remember that the first time you see that movie, and it's just like, yes, so good. We have Sarah Connor's long-winded end line. The Spider-Man one is actually pretty similar to the Iron Man one. It's just not public. From the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. "This is my gift, my curse. Who am I? I'm Spider-Man."
I thought you were going to say, "This is my gift, my curse, my Spider-Man."
My Spider-Man. Oh, man. Let's see what else we got in here. Anything good? Oh, Casino Royale. Ending Casino Royale with the name's Bond. James Bond is really just well done. Let's see, what else? But anyway, I'm a big fan of a strong closing line like that. It's just fun. Just a fun way to end a movie. Just a little cap, little something extra at the end there. But anyway, back to the Untouchables. Do you have any other notes on this one?
No, I was just curious what your thought was on. Was this the first? Well, like not counting Mission Impossible, was this like the first like real like Brian De Palma movie you've seen?
I want to say no, but let me see if I could. I'm gonna double check and see what's on the list here, because the name was familiar, and I feel like I had done I've seen Snake Eyes. Like you said, I've seen Mission Impossible.
Well, because I remember like like first really thinking, like I knew the name. I know he's a famous director. I didn't realize like he was like serious like contemporaries with like Lucas and Coppola and Scorsese.
I've seen Scarface.
Like those guys were all like they're all like friends with each other. Like they all like, you know, work together formally or informally in some way, shape, or form. Like, and I was reading an article in The Ringer a year or two ago in which they were talking about a bunch of his movies, I think, or if they were talking about a bunch of Mission Impossible movies. I think it was maybe last year when the new Mission Impossible movie came out.
Okay.
And about how that was the first one where they had repeat directors, right? Because Chris McQuarrie did the last two. I forget the guy who did 4. Abrams did 3. Wu did 2. And Brian De Palma did 1. And there's a section of that article devoted to De Palma and his cinematography, where it's, or not cinematography, like, you know, his credits, where it's, this was like the first time that he did like a real true blue, like big budget, like movie that he's always been the author who goes against the grain. And I was like, oh wow, like I've never really seen any of his things. Like I knew the name, I knew he was a super famous director. That was curious, like where he was basically chose most of his career to be the anti-Lucas, the anti-Scorsese, the anti-Coppola, and that Mission Impossible was the first time that he like, and then he goes like full bore into being that huge set pieces, like and like I just found that whole thing fascinating, and I was like,
it is interesting.
Wow, I'd like to check out some of his movies, but I still didn't really know any of these, and this one eventually, like between then and now, like I didn't find it out when we were going to. I knew he did this movie, but I didn't know what other movies he did. Didn't realize he did Scarface until recently. Didn't know until just now I was scrolling through that he did Carlito's Way. Totally forgot he did Carrie. There's a couple other things on there that I didn't realize he did either. And I was wondering if you knew anything about him.
Not really. I was pleasantly surprised too. It makes me also want to rewatch some of the other ones that I've seen and kind of get a feel for the continuity between the styles. Yeah, you know.
And the same thing, like this I only found out like yesterday. I had no idea that David Mamet wrote this movie. That's the name I knew. He's like a famous screenwriter. But again, I don't even know any of the movies he's written. I just know that he's super famous.
Just a known name. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh wow. Like, so I have to go back and look and see if I know any of his stuff. You can watch if there's any of his stuff that I can check out, because I know that he's like revered as a screenwriter.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I kind of like this idea of going back a little further to some classics that we never got a chance to see, or even that maybe like one of us saw that the other one could watch. We could do something else.
Yeah, like just to break things up, keep things fresh, give us a chance to like take out that list that like I know I've been building. It sounds like
I've got
like the idea of that list. You know, if you have your own list or not, I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, I do. Well, awesome. That was fun. I appreciate that you brought this one up. It was a good way to kick off this classics style of Flix in the Six. So that's all for this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixinthe6@thespintune.com or tweet us at thespintune. Old movies, new movies, whatever you want, let us know. We'll do them. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsi.
Thanks for coming out.